Okay, Mike is getting on like a different camera, so that's what's happening. All right, no need to fear. Mike is coming. He will be here. All right, who's coming?
Oh, hey, it's funny because there's like real crickets. Oh man,
I can't
I'm
hear
walking.
them.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't hear the crickets.
Oh, yeah, I can't hear the crickets either now.
All right, so where do we start?
Well,
Wait,
first of all, your mic sounds fucking horrible.
how about now?
A little better now.
Oh, okay. Wait, if I talk and you talk, is there like an overlapping of like echoing?
It sounds pretty good right now. How does mine sound?
All right. They're so weird. um,
I'm trying to get my brain back. Brain.
brain rhymes with brain. So we should probably start talking about something.
Oh yeah. Well, what have we been talking about?
A lot of things like
Disassociation.
disassociation or uh, depersonalization, um, and whether or not overstimulation and or seizures are linked to it.
Yeah, honestly, like I'm not really. I don't. Maybe it's like careless of me to not want to analyze like what has happened, you know. maybe that's
Yeah, I think so.
maybe that's being
To be,
careless, but I don't know, I feel like I'm all right. So
I think it's a tiny bit careless, to be honest, but like maybe a little bit more than a tiny bit, but like I wouldn't be like overly concerned. But I'm just like I just do a lot of thinking about that stuff. But like I'm saying, yeah, I wouldn't be like overly concerned to the point of like stress. But like
No, I'm not stressed over it.
yeah, but I'm just saying, but I would be like aware.
Aware of
Oh,
what?
I don't know.
Oh,
I just said it.
aware wolf.
Yeah, I would be like aware. Well, no, I would just be like aware of yourself and like what is going on with you. I don't know, but like not like stressed. Aware, not stressed. But
I was gonna look through the notebook that I had in the hospital. Like
oh, that would be a good idea. I have a lot of stuff written down. That would be a good idea to bring up like different topics and talk about different.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not though. I don't care.
I don't know.
I mean, some of the ideas were just too goofy.
What do you mean? That you wrote? Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the electromagnetic field and the, I don't know, like solar energy shit. It just, wasn't logical.
No, it wasn't like crazy, but like obviously it was because you're not the first one who's come up with similar theories. So obviously it wasn't like crazy. You know, other
I
people.
remember being in some really interesting brain states that I kind of wish I could spend more time in.
Like how? Like what type of brain states?
I don't know, ones that are more like hallucinatory.
Yeah, ones that could lead to some creative productivity.
No, not necessarily. Oh, wait, is that Marco? Yay. We have
Hey,
company.
yay.
Wait, no, that's not the Marco that I know.
Who is Marco?
I don't know if it's the Marco I know.
Hi, Marco. Who are you?
Because his name is like Sisyphus now, or something, or like I don't know what it is. It's like he changed it, so that's probably a different Marco.
Wait, Marco. 2
What?
questions. Do you follow Mike Bull on YouTube? And the other question is, are you here because there are aliens on air, or are you here for antinatalism?
What?
You must be here because there are aliens on air, right?
No.
Oh. Do you follow Mike Bull on YouTube?
Was that your... Wait, why would you talk about me when I'm here?
What? I asked if he follows you on YouTube.
Oh, it's just kind of weird.
What? Am I being weird? I'm really confused right now.
I don't know.
Marco, do you think I'm weird?
No.
Alright, cool. Me either.
Damn it, my phone is gonna die.
That's why you should just come in here and talk on the microphone with me. Because I kind of am like total creep right now.
That's so uncomfortable, though.
So Marco, what's up? Oh, who's this? This is Guthrie. Who's Guthrie? Hi,
Hello. Sorry, I saw your guys' hangout as public, and I wanted to know to which alien species I was talking to.
Autistics.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Then you guys might be interested in something coming up on this Sunday and reporting about it. Speaking as a person with autism myself, are you guys familiar with the fact that Autism's Own, the world's only peer-reviewed journal to document the autistic experience, is having its conference this Sunday night at UVic?
Where is that?
Yeah.
University of Victoria.
I don't know where that is.
That's in Victoria, British Columbia.
Oh, we're
Come
not
on.
here.
I don't think he's telling you to go in person.
I was
Oh.
just letting you guys know about it, so this way if you're running another show before then, you could plug it, so this way people will know that the journal is actually being launched again this Sunday and can find it online.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
I just found out I had autism like recently, so it's like really it's really strange for me.
Oh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the mental hospital and I got diagnosed. So, I don't know. It's interesting to talk to someone else who has it.
Yeah. Well, the bit that I would find particularly interesting about this is the fact that autism itself is developing as its own subculture.
What do you mean? What?
Well, part of the reason for this particular conference happening is that the journal that's being launched is basically authors with autism documenting their experience as being autistic, and there's even people doing presentations about what it's like to actually be autistic to fellow autistic people in a sort of shared narrative of being on the autism spectrum.
Huh.
There's a developing culture entirely based around this.
I'd like to meet some other people who are autistic in the real world, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
kind of I don't know how yours, you know, like there's like different types, right? Like
yeah,
you know.
there's an entire spectrum of disorders regarding autism these days. I mean, even with the DSM-5, they recently subsumed my disorder, Asperger's syndrome, back under the autism spectrum as just being one variant of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we were talking about, autism spectrum, high-functioning autism.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
like I said, sorry. Well, anyway, I'm just going to quickly post a link here in the chat for those who might be interested. This is the link to the Autism Zone event. There's plenty of people there who are local to my area, Victoria, British Columbia, who are autistic. If you friend them over Facebook, you might get a chance to be able to have some perspectives of talking with other people who have autism from at least the local community, from at least the community local to where I am.
Huh.
I mean, it's
Alright,
over the internet. Also, are you guys familiar with a forum called wrongplanet.org?
Yes.
Oh, okay, brilliant. So I don't have to repeat about that one. But
Yeah, it's great.
yeah, no, nice to meet some fellow people on the autism spectrum. I've been trying to plug this particular event to the autistic community at large for a while now. But you know, unfortunately, I haven't found any Google Hangouts that were particularly interested in talking about this. So I'm glad I found you guys, because at least it means that the event can be at least notified to fellow autistics. You know, hey, keep an eye out for this journal coming out, because they actually accept submissions from all over the world.
Huh.
I mean,
Just
are you
people-
familiar with a lady who runs positively autistic on Blog Talk Radio named Maria Iliu?
No.
Okay, well, she runs a radio show, and she's down in the States. She's submitted all the way up to Canada for this journal.
Huh.
Yeah,
Wait, is it like a contest or something, or is it just
no,
like
it's
other
not a
people-
contest. It's literally an academic peer-reviewed journal. But it's edited by autistics. Authors have to be autistic, and they have to write about the autism experience in some way that they experience it.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
so
I'll submit something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's
sorry, I'm really bad at trying to like talk. So yeah, I want to say I think that's like really good, because it's really hard for like autistics, because we feel like aliens, because
yeah.
people find it like hard to like understand autism. I don't know why, but
Well, it's even worse.
yeah.
It's even worse the other way around, isn't it?
Trying to understand neurotypicals?
Yes, exactly.
Well, he's saying that it's harder for autistics to understand neurotypicals than it is for neurotypicals to understand autistics.
I
Well, I
feel
think
like
isn't that equally true the other way around? Like, isn't it just as hard for us to understand neurotypicals because of our lack of ability to read social cues, etc.?
yeah, but I mean, what I was talking about was just that because other neurotypicals also find it hard to understand autistics, that it causes problems, a lot of
Oh,
problems. Yeah, so I think it's good to make people like aware of it and understand it, because I feel like they get really
Well, like if the three of us were to get like intensely focused on some nuance of the disorder, then we could probably talk about it in depth for hours. You know, like
hell
if we're
yes.
focusing on that, you know, particular thing, and then, you know, that's what I found talking to other autistics, when they both, you know, their brains are working on the same wavelength, then it gets really deep. it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper, and then and then I think that people who don't have that level of focus, just kind of shut you out or something if you start talking really fast or something.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, actually, one of the
weird.
things sorry.
Oh no, you go.
One of the things I'm going to be arguing in a paper in this particular journal coming up is that our capability to hyperfocus and also to pick out inconsistencies may actually be one of our greatest strengths in possibly improving society. Because since neurotypicals are not going as in depth as we are in particular issues, we might be able to expose a wide number of rotting planks in the framework that is a social society of North America, or around the world for that matter, and perhaps we might be able to find ways of not only pointing out those rotten planks, but figure out how to replace them with something more efficient that will last longer.
Yeah, well, we're operating under the assumption, or basically saying that life itself is a negative, right? That's basically the perspective we're going from, that life itself is not a net positive. So we've gone back to that as the premise, basically, that life on planet Earth is mostly suffering, and at least mostly for wild animals, and nature is just this meat grinder of gladiator war suffering. So we're kind of focused on.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say you guys might be interested in coming across my paper then when the time comes, because one of the things I argue in there is that it doesn't have to be like that. If we can find a way to pursue if we can find a way to continually pursue understanding of objective reality as a whole, as a not only as a species but as a planet, as life in general, and if we can find a way to check each other's work and gain a greater understanding of reality and figure out how to overcome some of the negative aspects, we might be able to turn life eventually from a net negative into a net positive, and have life function as the universe's way of understanding itself.
Wait, say that again?
I'm proposing that by readopting the scientific method as the core of our beings, and having, as a species, not just as individuals, and having every person acting as a peer reviewer and replicator of everyone else's observations, perhaps we can develop a collective understanding of objective reality, and by figuring out how to use the knowledge we gain from this, figure out how to fix the negatives that come with life, and turn life from a net negative into a net positive, and provide a function for life as being the universe's method of understanding itself.
But my only question is how do you
why?
cure nature? Like, how do you cure the suffering imposed by nature itself? Like, how do you get lions to lay with lamb type thing?
Wait.
Wait, what are you saying there?
Go take a step back. Why are we creating? Why do we need to make the universe a method for understanding itself? Why would we do that?
Because of the fact that life doesn't appear to have any other purpose, but it's still here.
Why does it need a purpose?
Well, because of the fact that if life exists, it must. If everything in the universe seems to fulfill some function or other, at some point, at some level. My proposition is that sentient life, if it has no other purpose, might be to try to develop a framework whereby it discovers its own purpose. And so the universe understanding itself is a stand-in purpose until such time as we have developed enough knowledge to be able to understand the purpose of life. Now, this may take eons and maybe well beyond our lifetimes for being able to achieve this, but at least it's a goal that we can set ourselves as a species towards.
Well, we know we're just the byproducts of a replicating DNA molecule, and we're just
I think you're saying it's a better goal to have than having none. It's a better goal to have than having none, since we're here anyway.
And the reason I actually mention this from a genetic perspective is that are you guys familiar at all with genetic algorithm theory?
No. Well, maybe a little bit, but go on.
Okay, well, according to certain branches of applied mathematics, genetic algorithms do actually approximate certain mathematical formulas or levels of reality, and they can get ever closer to achieving the true value that mathematics reveals, but they can never get truly there. They can never get to that absolute value. So as a
Yeah.
result, what I was going to suggest is that perhaps adopting this particular method might be one whereby we can actually use genetic algorithms, the algorithms in our genetic code to be able to, get this greater understanding of objective reality and get ever and ever closer to truly understanding objective reality. Though we will never get 100% there because, well, science doesn't deal in absolutes, and genetic approximation is kind of limited. Oh, draft science. This might be actually the perfect person to speak to on this issue.
Well, you're saying that. Oh, hey, Inmendham. Yeah, you're saying that you believe in an objective reality, and you're saying that these algorithms will bring you closer to this objective reality.
Well, the thing is that it's also a part of our understanding. As we grow more complex and more, as sentience develops and as we grow more complex as life forms, we start gaining more and more understanding, and we start getting closer and closer to that understanding of objective reality. We just haven't got, we've still got a long ways to go, and it may be near infinite, but at least it's a purpose and a goal that we can start applying ourselves towards. It might be a way of fully tapping the potential of why we're here and why we're sentient and self-aware enough in the first place that we have the understanding that we do of the universe at this time. Is that maybe we should push it further and further and further and see where we end up.
Inmendham left. I don't know what happened.
Waiting for a response from Draft Science, but
What?
I was waiting for him to. Yeah. Never mind.
But yeah, anyway, if you guys want to follow my Facebook page, I'm just going to type it in here. I'll be sharing the paper in about 3 days' time, maybe 4, once I've got the link to the this latest issue of the journal.
Wait, Inmendham, are you there? Wait, can you hear us? Oh, wait.
Hear anything?
Okay, we can hear you. We can hear him, but he can't hear us. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're just operating from the premise that, sentience itself is the problem, and I don't see the need to have, sentient organisms.
I think, I mean, like, you're saying that we need to have this purpose, which is to for us to be here.
Is it like transhumanism?
Well, let's just cut to the chase. If you understood life to be a lifeboat, okay, with Frankensteins cannibalizing each other, okay, some sort of negative thing, okay, it's not intrinsically positive, it's an intrinsically net negative for the living sentient beings. The vast majority of the sentient life on Earth is not understanding anything or doing any of that crap. It's getting its face ripped off in the end, okay? It struggles to live, eats some hamburgers, and then dies of something. That's what most life is doing. The average rat lives 3 years, okay? It's not a great life. They're not understanding anything, not contemplating anything. They're just eking out an existence. Now, if you understand that to be a fundamentally negative condition, one, I wouldn't sign up to be a rat 1,000,000 times over, okay? Do rat, then do rat, then do rat, then do rat, then do rat for an eternity. I wouldn't spend an eternity as a frickin' rat, okay? Getting eaten by cats and getting all kinds of viruses and all this other stuff. So if you understood to be that, would you really contrive an excuse to maintain it? To dress it up as something, to gild this whatever thing, lily or whatever, so you can put it on the mantle and say, look, isn't that lovely? It's going to get blown up in the end by the universe anyway. The universe is going to catastrophically blow you up. You're not going to spend any billions and billions of years doing any of this crap anyway, okay? The solar system and the rest of the universe is going to annihilate every single crumb of us. There won't be one single fingerprint left behind. And so all you're doing is contriving an excuse to row the boat, to do the Sisyphus boulder pushing, And if you knew it to be truly painful, like Sisyphus kept dying of cancer, and then Dr. Frankenstein would inject life back into him so he could push a boulder again, and they'd die of cancer. I mean, clearly you don't have a negative perception of what's going on here.
Oh, I agree that life is inherently a negative. I'm just saying, like with any mathematical equation, there might be a way to turn it into a positive.
Well, let's say the fuel is entirely made out of negative. Okay, the initiating force is the whip, and I make a good by taking the whip away. Now, if you understood that to be the truth, let's say if I could convince you that the fundamental sentient mechanism is really based on the creation of a negative, that outside of the creation of the negative, you would be in bliss right now. It's only because of tensions and pains and aches and worries and stress and all this other crap that you're not feeling ecstasy. And so it's all whip, and all the good that you ever perceive, anytime you feel good, it's because I've eliminated, or the universe has eliminated some burden. All right, you feel good when you win the lottery. You feel good when you get a pain fixed. You feel good. You only feel good when something's fixed. And so broken is the initial condition. So if I could convince you that the initial condition is broken, and the only way you can truly make a good is to fix a broken, you'd understand that the math says it's a zero-sum game if you play perfectly. If you play this game perfectly, you might get to the zero-sum. But the odds are you won't play it perfectly, and you're going to have negative on the table.
Now, the thing, of course, is though, is that yes, science and 100% is an asymptote that will never be achieved. But the point, of course, is though, is that every time we fix a broken, we're getting closer to that. And the thing is that if we...
I have to say it's a zero-sum, though, if you understood it to be truly a zero-sum, in the sense that you're not making any true positives, you're just cleaning up vomit. Okay, so you're just cleaning up the mess, and then you say, hey, look, it's really good, I cleaned up some mess. But you're not going to truly make a good. You're just going to make less bad. So if you know the end result is you'll just achieve less bad, you will not accomplish anything. You wouldn't say, yes, go ahead, perpetuate it. Make some more of this. Make some more rats so they can chase pointlessly and then die pointlessly.
Well, to answer what Mike was saying earlier, and to actually answer your question a little bit as well, Draft, regarding the issue of transhumanism, where we basically try to become artificial life forms or what have you. Yeah, part of this would eventually be transhumanism, to be able to cross the vast distances of interstellar space and possibly even to parallel universes, so this way we could leave records of what it is we found. One of the biggest issues is the Fermi paradox, the fact that we don't know where other life is because it seems to cack out too quickly. But if we can leave a record of where we...
It's not a paradox in the first place, in my opinion. It's the universe hates complexity. Okay, it really just doesn't. Most of the universe is incredibly simple. Most of it's hydrogen, for fuck's sake, and it's not doing a damn thing. It's not contemplating anything. It's not worrying about anything. It's not doing any of that crap. The universe hates complexity, and it will annihilate it. And that's why there's no frickin' aliens out there, because, yeah, if they ever get any kind of time to do anything, sooner or later a cosmic ray burst or some other kind of bullshit is going to fry their asses. Most of the universe is incredibly hostile anyway to complexity. I mean, we're just happen to be in a very quiet part of a very quiet old galaxy, and so we had a chance. But most of the universe, there's too much radiation and the rest of it to keep the soup getting complex anyway. It never gets complex.
Well, the question is, though, is that why does the probability distribution work out so that there are these rare areas where complexity develops in the first place? If everything else is performing a function, by at least putting this one in to discover what the function of complexity is, as in why does it develop in the universe in the first place, well, that might be an answer.
I'm just saying, it's a fractal. It's not true complexity. It's just the machines that are doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing a magnet does. They're attracted and repulsed. They're mechanisms, and the whole idea of survival built into the evolution of a genetic code. I mean, it's a simple game. It's tic-tac-toe. So the game is intrinsically simple. It's just that the field, the checkerboard, is huge. So it's a huge checkerboard, and we think it's complicated, but the moves are simple, it's crude, and it's stupid. Our intelligence has no purpose. It's a scheming device. That's why we have it. It makes us good schemers for the DNA molecule that's attempting to take over the universe. But that's all that's happening. I'm just a scheming tool for a frickin' spermazoa, okay? I'm a tool. I'm not the thing. I'm the weapon the tool is using, okay, to take over the universe.
Well, the question is, why would it be bothering to take over the universe?
Well,
Unless there was
because
some
it's
purpose?
just that's the nature of the game. The game says win. Okay, the game, that's all the game says. It says survival. Okay, and as soon as you create a replicating organism, that's what it does. Okay, by its nature, it will not succeed. It will not exist unless it plays the game. So the first priority, the first what do you call it, prime directive, okay, of the biology is win. That's it. That's the prime directive. There's nothing else. There's just win. All right, and it doesn't get to judge whether winning makes sense. It just is built to win.
Well, the
And
question
if it
is then
loses,
why
it's gone. It doesn't play anymore. So yes, only winners. I am descendant from people that survived the plague. They survived the cholera. They survived all the diseases. They survived the AIDS. They survived the floods. They survived the tsunamis. They survived everything. They're the winners. I'm not descended from losers.
but the question is why you win? What's the purpose?
Ding 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 ding. Yeah, sorry, that came out like banjo. It didn't come out like words. But ding 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 ding.
You're saying your mic isn't working.
Oh, that's what I was saying. That's right. Yeah, but your mic isn't working. Yeah, like there isn't some of that going around. Certain mics being a little bit broken.
Let me try that again.
Yeah.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, what I was going to ask is why do we have the capability to self-contemplate? Why do we ask why we are winners in the first place?
It's just a side effect, right? We know that most organisms don't, okay? So and obviously when we acquired that skill, we couldn't even use it, right? I mean, we acquired this extra capacity to do language, right? That's really the key thing that makes all this possible is language. And we acquired that before we had language, right? So we had the ability to go to high school and learn and be smart, and we didn't because there was no high school and there was no language and there was no nothing. So we actually had capacity. Something evolution rarely does is give something a capacity it doesn't utilize. So obviously the initial purpose of our language brain was something else. So it gave us a slight advantage in the environment we lived in, you know, the UG world, right? So in the UG world, maybe having 10 words worked better, even though I could do 10,000. So my brain gave me 10,000 word capacity. I only needed 10 word capacity, okay? And human beings could have stayed that way, but I mean, obviously, there was a huge advantage to us being able to store information and learn how to manipulate because it made us better schemers, it made us better murderers, right? We became even better genocidal murderers, right? Like if you gave monkeys or chimpanzees or gorillas the power we have, what would they do? The same thing. They would just become homicidal maniacs. Their tribe is the best tribe. They're going to kill everybody else with their super weapons. And we'd just play out the same stupid thing. So I'm just saying there's nothing intentional about our intelligence in the sense that it's not part of evolution. We've only had it for a tiny, tiny period of time. And as you're pointing out, well, as anybody could point out, with global warming and nuclear bombs, there's not exactly a huge probability that human beings are going to survive their intelligence. It's going to be a fatal mistake.
Well, that's the question is, can we turn our intelligence into something more positive? The paper that I've just linked that I've been linking to the Autism Zone thing, which I'm going to be publishing on the 21st in this journal, is basically proposing a method whereby we can take our intelligence and actually make use of it as not just some byproduct, but in a way to turn this shit situation around.
Well, I'm just saying you can't turn the shit into anything. All you can do is use your intelligence to know what you are, which is a selfish, conniving, scheming son of a bitch. You're an asshole, basically. And fine, let's live out our lives. Let's fuck some pussy. Let's have fun. Let's have a party. Let's not murder each other and blah, blah, blah. But the point is, you wouldn't make more of these monsters. We're basically conniving, scheming monsters. There's no reason to think you're going to use your intelligence to be anything else. Donald Trump is a perfect example. People love Donald. He's a winner. He's a huge fraud, a gigantic fake. I mean, look at what we iconize. We just had the fucking Olympics, right? We give people trophies for what? Swimming fast. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's very little prospect that humans would apply this intelligence as you're thinking. Like I said, I'd love to make us all into intelligent janitors who clean up everything. I would love to do that. But this, in the end of the day, though, there's no game to play because that's not what my dick wants to do. So I might as well cut the dick off. And once you cut the dick off, then you might as well cut my head off because I got no reason to be here. There's no game to play then. I got no checkers to play. So, you know, what is, it's just, I'm just saying that I think you're just trying to contrive a way for us to dignify our existence and make excuses for it. And I'm just saying it's a contrived excuse. If you really look at the game, it's a stupid game, and it's a very personal and subjective game. I'm horny. I want to eat another donut. That's the only reason why I want another day to come is because maybe I'll get pussy. But that's it. There's no other reason I want to see tomorrow.
What about the people who deliberately choose to remove themselves from the gene pool, but to still try to do something intelligent to affect the rest of the group?
Yeah,
I'm just
saying that you're just making the best of a bad circumstance. So yeah, you're in the lifeboat. You're going to try to be as civilized as possible and make the best of this and try to make good decisions about who we throw to the sharks and who we don't. You try to do everything fair and nice and be polite and everybody else. And you know, I'm saying there's nothing. I do that that's my entire existence is built on. But yeah, I mean, I was done living when I was 11 years old. I knew I was part of a stupid game, and I knew I was a son of a bitch. So I mean, I knew there was nothing here to play. The adults were idiots, and I was an asshole. Asshole plus idiot does not equal something good's going to happen.
Again, that's part of the reason why I'm proposing we need a complete revamp of our current social situation and rebuild from first principles. But again, time will tell on that.
I know, but even if I did that, even if I gave you a biological mechanism that wasn't innately selfish and all these other things, even if I gave you something, I built you a robotic, like a synthetic, okay, a human that's like half human and half hippopotamus or something. And he was really nice and polite, and he didn't have terrible personal needs, and he thought very big picture and by nature. You know what I mean? Like naturally, he got horny for fixing things in the world, right? Like that gave him orgasms. Like, you know, I cured cancer. You know, that kind of thing. Even if I gave you that animal, you still don't have much of a game to play because it's still just janitor. I mean, that's the name of the game. The game is swim in the sewage, find the valve to turn off, and turn it off. There's no Tomb Raider fun here. This is all a dirty, stinky, lousy job. I mean, your job is to stop suffering and to, you know, put this out of its misery. And I mean, it's just there's nothing fun here. This is cleaning up roadkill.
Except for those who actually want to understand more about why the universe is the way it is and why the shit continues. The people who study the mathematical models. The people.
Well, I understand. I already gave you the mathematical model of a zero-sum game. I'm just saying I don't think this is as complex as you're saying. Trying to understand the universe. The universe is a mechanical mechanism. The first principles are action-reaction, and that's what we are. We're a byproduct of action-reaction, and like I said, once you have this replicating molecule that you've imposed with a seek mechanism, you know, a replicate mechanism, something it's passionate. It's not only that it does replicate, that it becomes devoted to that function. It's programmed for that function. That's everything else. All this other stuff is just a byproduct of initiating reproduction in a material universe. So anytime you initiate reproduction, that's done on purpose, you know, done motivationally by an organism, by programming, you're going to have exactly what we are. You're going to have a thing that's going to be a self-interested motherfucker, and he's going to be living in a world where he's going to have to realize, hey, I'm not the only game in town. Your broken leg is just as important as my broken leg. You getting pussy is just as valuable or good a thing happening as me getting pussy. There's no me, you bullshit. There's just feeling thing and feeling thing. And that's a terrible equation for a selfish monster. Selfish monsters really don't want to hear that.
Yeah. Well, I guess then with that zero-sum game, it's amazing we haven't destroyed ourselves yet at this point.
Well, I'd say it is pretty fortunate. I mean, a little twist in fate, I guess you could say, that have gotten us this far. But I mean, it doesn't look like a very good prospect for the future because people do seem to be becoming more transient and more intolerant of each other. You know, especially now that we're one-worlding and we're shoving each other in each other's nostrils and saying basically, you have to accept that we're going to take you over. We're going to consume you. We're going to let idiocracy own you.
Yeah, what's funny is there is a way out, but unfortunately it's been quashed multiple times over.
Well, obviously we have to change the survival of the fittest game, right? We were never smart enough to know that, yes, I mean, look, the whole eugenics thing is a scary idea. It ends up with related to the whole Hitler-Nazi thing, master race crap. But there's a real practical fact, to the fact that you don't want idiocracy. You don't want crack whores raising the next generation. It's not a good plan. You don't want the poorest, dumbest, most reckless people on earth raising the next generation. That's real. Of course you don't want them genetically controlling the next generation.
Yeah, which is all part of the more reason why I've been an advocate for years of the space colonization movement, the creation of artificial biodomes in the rest of the solar system.
Yeah. So what? Then you can have then you can create the divorce court dome and schizophrenic dome. And
yeah, but the point is at least those groups...
I'm scared of this whole thing dome and fuck you in the ass dome. And yeah, I mean, why inject the monster called human? I would pay not to send people into space. There's not a damn person on this planet that I have enough respect for to say, oh yeah, let's send him into space. He's so cool. No, he's an asshole. He's probably gonna fucking rape his own kids.
You don't want me going to space?
Yeah. Well, we have to have a quiet time. We have to test you for a while. Put you in one of those little spinny things and see if you really go wacky.
Well, one of the other possibilities is one of the other possibilities that's been looking really good lately is the Blue Brain project that's currently going on in Europe in conjunction with IBM. Artificial intelligence, which if we could figure out how to program it to learn from our mistakes, getting that going off into space and exploring elsewhere would be a lot less of a janitorial problem.
It's still programming. So artificial intelligence, even if you make one, I know how to make one actually. They ought to consult me because I can do one with JavaScript for fuck's sake. All you need to have artificial intelligence is to duplicate what our brain does, which is essentially create different brains, right? You have one brain that creates problems, right? It sees something in the world. Hey, I heard Mike's in the crazy house. And then my brain reacts to that. Oh, Mike's in the crazy house? That's not right. You can't have Mike in the crazy house. Okay, so my brain reacts, creates a problem for me. So now Mike being in the crazy house, all of a sudden it's a problem for me. My brain did that. It made a problem for me. And then the other half of my brain says, how do we solve the problem? Well, I don't know. I can't do anything about it. Tough shit, I guess. Well, too bad. Yeah. Good luck, Mike. But yeah, I got no power. I can't fix it. So fuck it. I'm just saying though. But that's how artificial intelligence needs to work. And both of those instruments, though, first, our intelligence can be pure. So I would say that yes, we can think logically, we can do reasoning, and we can deduce the truth from the mush. So our brain can be pure. But the motivating thing, the thing that reacts, that thing's really hard to make pure because that's a subjective, donut-eating asswipe who, hey, that kid's cute, that kid's ugly. I'm going to invest in the cute kid. That kind of bullshit. It's really hard to fix the subjective problem maker. And so for your artificial intelligence, he's not going to have anything more than we have. We already have a great reasoning device. The scheming device, if applied to reasoning, works. So we already have a really good reasoning device. The problem is we have this terrible motivating device. The motivating device is entirely selfish. So artificial intelligence would just be replacing the selfish bit with this utopian bit, this idealism, but it still wouldn't have better reasoning than we have.
No, I expect it to have the same reasoning capability, but by changing the motivator and putting it into something that could last longer through space, i.e. a radiation-shielded box, which would be a fraction of the cost of trying to create an entire ecosystem to travel between stars.
Whatever. The fraction of cost, I'm just saying we are very, very expensive. If you look at what the biosphere is expending to produce our oxygen and our livable life, we're not that cheap, and you're not going to make some utopia in a frickin' lead-cased cardboard box you send into space.
Well, that utopia gets a change motivator, and then possibly can do what we never were able
Well, I
to.
understand. Look, I've always been for virtual reality and all that stuff. If we have to do this nonsense, we might as well do it in a perfect environment. So, I mean, I'm all for that crap, but I'm just saying it's still endorsing just a bunch of the necessity is a delusion. There's no real necessity. There's no need to fix it. It's better off dead. There's nothing you can make out of this. This is crap, okay? And there's just nothing to synthesize out of it. It's crap. It's chasing its tail. I mean, it's make a problem, fix a problem. Now, you know, I'm just saying, it's dumber than Sisyphus. You know, it's just stop making the problem, then you won't have to fix it. It's our need, our passion, our deprivations that motivate us. You know, even if I was to make a new person to go into virtual reality, think about the moral implications of that, you know, the ethical implications, because you would basically have to create in them desire. And what is desire made out of? Well, the more starved I make him, the more passionate he'll be, right? So if I don't let him have sex, so I'll give him memories of not having sex for 30 years and being desperately lonely, and because that way his passion will be stronger and his love will be greater, right? You know what I'm saying? You almost have to beat the child. You know what I'm saying? Building character isn't free. You don't get character by having a good time. You get character, you know, by getting some tomatoes in your face and getting some arms cut off. You know what I'm saying? You don't become a good person by having it easy. You become a good person by having to work for it. So why would I want to do that to somebody? Why would I create a virgin machine and impose on it that sense of need and deprivation and hunger? Why would I do that? Why don't I just leave it the fuck alone? Why would I mess with creation? There's nothing to create here. There's no purpose to be served. The universe has no wound, and I can make no salve. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing to fix. We're the thing that's broken. The universe is fine. We're the broken, right? Everything's great on Mars, isn't it? I mean, there's no cancer, there's no divorce, there's no wife beating, there's no rape, there's no pillage, there's no houses on fire, there's no forest fire. They got it made. Let's be Martian.
Kind of makes you wonder why we're still living the rest of our lives out.
Well, I'm doing it to stop this from happening. I don't like that somebody threw me into this slop, this dirty, stinking, skanky, cruddy, poo-infested bird's nest, right? I resent my parents laying eggs in a shithole, right? They knew the world sucked. Even in the 60s, they knew the world sucked, and they sitting there laying eggs in the suck. So that's what I'm in it for. I'm in it for the fact that I know the future is me again. You know what I'm saying? I mean, somebody waking up conscious is somebody waking up conscious, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be me personally. It doesn't have to have my hair color. It doesn't have to have my eye color. You know what I mean? It's going to be a human being who's going to wake up in a shitty nest and he's going to say, what the fuck am I doing in this dumb game? I don't want to play get cancer for no good reason. I don't want to play that game, okay? Maybe you want to sign up for that shit, but I don't sign up for any of this crap. I don't want ALS for no good reason. I don't want an uncontrollable, silly, your life depends on it, stupid, skanky game to play. I want to play something free. I don't want to play something expensive. I'm not a gambling man. I mean, I don't want to put my nuts on the table and let you stick knives in them. Fuck that. I'm not playing. Let's stick a knife in your nuts. No, I'm not going to. I don't want to play that.
So basically letting other people know not to perpetuate the game.
Well, I'm just saying that that's the thing that horrifies me the most is the fact that I can't even gain immunity. I'm going to get dragged back here by idiocracy. Some fucking dumb cunt is going to drag me back. She's going to shove me out her fucking vagina again. Another consciousness playing a dumbass game, and he's going to know it's dumbass. That's what I mean by the similarity, right? I might not have anything in common with him. He's just going to be a person who's going to arrive on Earth, and he's going to know when he's fucking 7 years old, I'm not on the right planet.
Well, the good news is if the situation does continue the way it is, life will be shortened out relatively quickly.
Well, that's what I want, right? But the thing I fear is the AK-47 redneck ignorant war. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they don't fully nuke, so they're just a bunch of, you know, it's this dystopia, you know, where we just knock ourselves back into the Stone Age and just, you know, hack each other to pieces with swords.
Yeah. All right, well.
Sorry, I know it's all a bit bleak, but I'm just trying to get to you is that I can't really make an argument. All I can say is this is why I believe it, right? It's because I understand the lifeboat to be suck, and I don't want to perpetuate lifeboats. I don't want to send lifeboats into space. I don't want because the nature of the game of lifeboat isn't good enough. If it was a better game, I'd say let's play it. You know, if it was like Marine World or Disneyland, I'd say, okay, let's play. But it's not those things, and I wouldn't wish it on a dog, so to speak.
Yeah. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is trying to figure out a way to change the game. Change the rules.
Like I said, if I believed you could do that, then I would say, yeah, let's fight for it. Okay, because I'm a fighter by nature, right? I by nature, okay, I want to make it right. You know, because I don't like things being wrong. So I say, yeah, let's fix it. Let's fix it. I'm a fixer, right? I'm always fixing shit. I'm a mechanic. I mean, that's my nature. I'm not saying that would be right, but I'm just saying I could agree with you then, because I'd say, yeah, let's fight for it. But if you really look at it, you can't make anything out of this thing. It just isn't. The nature of the game is stupid because the world just doesn't need us to fix anything. So we can't fix something until we break something. We have to break shit before we can fix it.
And the problem, of course, is the fact that we ourselves are so broken, trying to radically change who we are may be near impossible.
Well, I'm just saying, yeah, we're born broken. We're born crying, right? We're born complaining. We're already saying, I need, I want, I need, I want. So we're already in the negative state, and we never get out of it. We never get out of the trap of trying to apply Band-Aids to our superficial wounds.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, well, you know, it was a good talk. I just wanted to get, like I said, I think if somebody can agree on premises, then you can sort of get this whole zero-sum thing that, yeah, we're all just fighting because we just don't want to be defeated. You know, no one wants to raise the white flag and say, oh, I got to pussy out. There's no, you know, you just don't want to surrender to a dumb force. But it's, yeah, the dumb force wins because you can't get around it. You can't defeat the nature of the bad luck. Yeah, that is this replication thing.
Yeah, not unless you find a way to no. Sorry, you were saying, Mike?
No, you go. You go.
I was going to say not unless you could find a way to dissociate ideas from life, so the ideas themselves were able.
Yeah. Like if you could make something perfect, the perfect thing would be just the contemplation by itself, you know, without any context, could be a positive. You know what I mean? That you could, you know, that you wouldn't have to have a reduced state to know what an improved state was. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't have to go below bliss to get to bliss. But yeah, there's no mechanics to figure out how you could possibly create the half-empty glass without actually emptying the glass. You know what I mean? You can't just have a full glass and then say, let's play full glass. Whereas you're like, I already got a full glass. No thanks.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that there are mathematical ways to do it, like, you know, mathematical proofs and all that. But the thing, of course, is, though, is that, you know, without a tie-in of application to the real world, a lot of people end up rejecting that whole side of things anyway.
Well, like I said, math gets tricky. Like I said, I've been doing all this physics stuff, so I'm really irritated by some math. You know, just because math does let you go places that aren't real. You know what I'm saying? There's synthetic places in a non-existent space, and so mathematical models can get quite cartoonish, and they're so dependent on premises. So again, I would argue to you, like, the fundamental premise here would be the understanding that there is no true positive. You know what I mean? So it's almost like an Einstein thing of getting this spent space thing right or some other thing right. If you misidentify the source of a positive and you don't understand that it's really made out of the elimination of a negative, you know, that you really put a cross on the negative, you know, a bar, you know, you polarize the negative into a positive. So if you already knew that positives were automatically required you to put two negatives together, then you would say, oh yeah, I get how that's zero sum. That there's no way to win then, because I have to create the negative before I can have the positive.
Hmm. Well, I was actually going to say, could we actually apply that model to how life accidentally wound up existing from the vacuum in the first place? If we treat death itself as a negative, maybe we didn't necessarily have to create the negative, but it's actually the universe consistently playing the negative back in. I mean,
yeah, well, again, obviously the context of negative doesn't really exist until you create something that can do this feeling thing, right? Because that's when something truly tried to synthesize value. So you could say in a way that evolution, I'm not saying it did deliberately, but I'm just saying part of the necessity of creating a learning device is the idea that you have to have reward and punishment, right? So you have to have a mechanism of reward and punishment. And it was that created our sentience, or our capacity to feel this negative thing. But the negative really didn't exist until the brain tried to create it synthetically. And the funny part is, right, that the synthetic creation of value, the fact that my brain takes the external world and tries to make it mean something, we actually created real value in the sense that it created something that really is negative. It's not just synthetically negative. You know what I mean? It's not in an AI kind of way where the programming would say, don't let humans get killed, like the Terminator. You know what I mean? The Terminator can think something, but he wouldn't feel it. You know what I mean? So he would know, this is my prime directive, this is a negative, so I never let a certain thing happen because that's a negative. But he doesn't have to feel pain. But our brain is doing the same thing as the Terminator, except it made real value. Instead of making a negative directive, it made a feeling, and the feeling is actually, we might agree, intrinsically negative. It just reeks of it. You know, if I took the neurons that make bad pain and I took just those neurons, I put them in space somewhere, that configuration is just intrinsically negative. You know what I mean? It can never be anything else but negative.
Well, one of the things I'm wondering is whether or not this could be tied to energy flow in the universe. Specifically, that the sun is basically a positive energy source emanating out into a dead space.
Well, that's another tricky word. I'm just saying once you get into physics, because then I would argue that the physics is really actually the opposite. Okay, that the quiet universe is actually the universe where there's more energy, and the sun, anything accelerating particles, is actually accelerating them through a field displacement. So they're going to a low pressure. You know, they're not going because there's a higher pressure. They're going because there's a negative space. So it's like gravity is a shadow. So it's a negative space that's causing the attraction. So the attraction isn't a positive force, it's a negative force.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant to say. But the point is that there is still a negative in existence, and that there is a the negative attraction. The attraction is negative, and is moving from a place of energy which is positive. And I'm wondering whether or not
again. Yeah, I'm just saying that using going that abstract. Okay, that's almost like making it too mathematical, because then you lose connection to the key feature. Was there's no real value. There's no real negative until you have a sentient organism. I mean, if I don't put sentient life in the universe, you can't really talk about negative events. There's really no such thing, you know. There's just no way it can do anything wrong because there's nothing to do wrong to. There's nothing harmable. So until I create a harmable, in my opinion, it's all moot. There can't be any mathematical value, because there's absolutely nothing to judge the value based on. You have to have a qualia thing. You have to have that qualia thing happening, or you have no value. There's no woman tied to the rail. It's like tying a mannequin to the railroad tracks. It just can't be meaningful.
All right. Well, that's definitely some food for thought either way.
That's what I am. Yeah, food for thoughter.
Anyway, sorry I kind of hijacked the conversation there, guys.
No, it's all right.
I think you did good. Yeah, it was. I think it's good. I liked it.
He at least, he's not a nihilist. He's saying that he's trying to come to objective reality. He's trying to get an accurate description of realities.
Yeah, I think all the motivations are true, are very positive, and we can agree on those. I mean, we're probably very agreeable on well, we have nothing better to do than the best we can. We got to try to improve the state of the condition of all sentient life. And so we could agree on these premises about, what the objective is near term. But the point is the long-term objective is the one where that's where the game just falls apart, because there just really can't be any long-term objective. There's just nothing to do here. But
eventually,
clean it up as fast as you can. I mean, just quit letting it go septic.
I mean, not even that, but not even just that. But even if life on any planet manages to get past its atmosphere and actually get outside of its own solar system, and start documenting what is going on elsewhere, realistically speaking, the universal heat death is eventually going to kill them anyway.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, that it's going to be really hard to ever get anywhere anyway, though. Even, when you think about the physical dynamics of actually even transporting integrated circuits, across space, the acceleration is a huge problem because it deforms the matter, and you're going to lose the information that's in the matter. So no matter even how you store humans, it's going to take an awful long time to get anywhere. So you're just talking about millions of years realistically to transport even a message of ourselves that stays intact. I mean,
the good news is, though, is that there are some possible signs about getting around some of those limit issues. Are you guys at all familiar with something called the Casimir effect?
I've heard it, but I don't remember it. But the real point, though, is that it's like the Tesla argument. I mean, people keep arguing that it's possible to send radio waves through the atmosphere and send energy through the atmosphere, and it just isn't, because you're going to keep hitting the atmosphere. You're going to keep you have to move all the atmosphere out of the way to do it. That's really expensive. And the space problem is the same problem. I mean, even though it's only a tiny amount of radiation that's out there, the faster you go, the more catastrophic the impacts become. And it's kind of impossible by a law of probability that you aren't going to hit a grain of sand and blow your spaceship to fuck.
Even with warping space-time itself to get around
well,
these.
I don't think there is such a thing as warping space-time. So time is a function; it's not a dimension, and space is nothing. And if there's a field, okay, you can't warp it. You just can't.
Well, they've actually shown experiments using atomic clocks and planes flying that time dilation is
Right,
possible.
I know, but it's not time dilation of the clock. The clock is just ticking slower because the metabolism of the clock is slowed down, because the clock is now, here's my analogy for it. If you were dancing in one place, right, you can only dance, and you're dancing as fast, I say dance as fast as you can in this one place. And then I said to you, now move right, okay, as you're dancing. You would understand that, hey, I can't dance as fast because I have to take some time out to move to the right, right? So a certain number of steps, I'm moving to the right, and I can't dance near as fast. And that's what's happening to the atomic clock. So when you give a matter velocity, what you're doing is changing its disposition like a school of fish. You're introducing fish going one way, and you're exiting fish going the other way. So you're slowing down the metabolism of the clock. So the actual orbits of the atoms and everything slows down because the atom has to spend more time moving than spinning, if you get my drift. So it's kind of, but I'm just saying the analogy holds. So I'm just saying if you took my word for it, that analogy is correct, then you would understand that the clock isn't telling accurate time. It's just breaking the clock. You move the clock fast, you break the clock. So if we don't really, so all time dilations, the only effect it would have on us if we were to use it is that it's like cryogenics. It just puts you in a suspended end, it slows down your metabolism. You don't live longer, you just live slower. Yeah. So that's all that really happens, is everything you do is going to be slower than it was back there, but you're not going to live more, you're not living longer, you're just living slower.
Well, the thing, of course, is that particular movement of everything surrounding it, that kind of warping has already been shown in small quantities in the laboratory with the Casimir effect.
Well, I'm just saying I don't believe I don't believe you'll add that. I don't buy that for a second, because it breaks the whole concept of the speed of light. So if they say they can do that, then they're saying they can break the speed of light. I don't think they can do it. So I'm not going to argue it in this room, but I'm just saying I don't think that physics holds up. The two-slit experiment is a freaking 200-year-old experiment. They still can't describe that one accurately. And, the fact that people keep trusting these physicists when they never even proved Einstein's lensing, for Christ's sakes.
The
The Hubble
gravitational
telescope
lensing
never proved it.
phenomena.
Huh?
Gravitational lensing has been proven. If you actually take a look at some of the effects
I'm
regarding
just saying,
the
no,
Hubble
it hasn't. Okay, so you can tell me it has, but I've looked at all the evidence. It had first solar lensing that Einstein predicted has never been proven. Okay, the Edinburgh experiment sucked. Okay, the two teams didn't even agree on the results. It was never repeated successfully. Every time they tried to repeat the experiment when there's a solar eclipse, they failed. Okay, they escaped their margin of error. The Hubble telescope could do the experiment every single day, and it doesn't do it ever. So why doesn't the Hubble telescope verify solar lensing if solar lensing is possible? Now, all the cosmological images, I can give you tons of reasons why none of those are physically possible.
So basically they've all been photoshopped or something?
No, they're not lensing. You can't have lensing where there's no gravity, okay? They're showing an image of a lens that's 1,000,000 light years across, right? So the lens is 1,000,000 light years across. The gravity, as Einstein pointed out, the gravity has to be very strong, and the light has to be in it a long time because light's moving incredibly fast. I mean, it's almost ludicrous for me to talk about how fast light is moving compared to the speed of an Earth. And to deflect its course, the gravity has to be intensely strong, and the light has to be in the gravity as long as possible. And Einstein's whole catch was that he could double the amount of time the light was in the gravity with his stupid time dilation, but that was all bullshit. But anyway, he's bent space. But anyway, the point is in a galaxy, the outside of the galaxy has the weakest gravity. I mean, you're talking gravity hundreds of times weaker than the gravity on the surface of the Earth. Okay, the Earth doesn't lens. How could a galaxy with tiny, minute gravity like where there's Pluto in the solar system, weakest possible gravity, how could that lens?
Well, the thing is that, again, we're also talking about distances that are incredibly freaking far.
I
Also,
understand, but the inverse square law automatic. You seem to be a mathematical guy. The inverse square law breaks that up, okay? It's because the distance problem becomes, yes, you can be traveling a long time in the light, but the point is this whole single source straight line forces, okay? The inverse square law blows up the proportional. So even though you're in the gravity twice as long, the force is 4 times weaker. So the force is getting weaker faster than your distance in the gravity is increasing. So even though your distance in the gravity is increasing, your exposure to the gravity is decreasing by a factor twice as fast.
there is also this little anomaly which might be worth looking into.
Well,
One of the other little bits was the fact as well, they've also found ways to slow light down in a vacuum, so there is a possibility of a natural effect doing this.
Well, again, I don't agree that they've done that. So you can say they've done it. They've claimed a lot of things, and they haven't done it. Okay, so there's no slowing light down. It's a fundamental force particle. You can't slow light down. You can't slow magnetism down. You can't slow down force. It's a constant for a reason. It's the only thing really moving. This is the irony of the whole thing. I'm sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to do physics here. I was going to do a physics move anyway. But I mean, technically, the only thing moving is the forces, right? So I mean, technically, the only stuff moving inside of you is all moving light speed. There's actually nothing moving any other speed. So it's like the school of fish analogy. In the sense, the only thing that's moving are the fish, right? And so if I made a school of fish and all the fish only moved one speed, right? You could sort of understand that, yes, they're all moving the speed of light, and they could all be swirling in circles, and so then the school would stay here. And then if I stopped them from swimming in circles, then they could move, because more fish are going in the direction of the movement for a longer period of time before they go back into a circle. So you could kind of get the idea that the fish are doing all the moving, and I could make the school inside of a school inside of a school, and it's almost like our biology. Our biology is cells, cells make organs, organs make bodies, you know what I'm saying? We're built on a fractaling layer of complexity, but the rudimentary thing is the speed of light, and really those are the fish. Those are the only things moving. Everything else isn't really moving. The fish are moving, not the school, right? I mean, a school of fish doesn't move. The fish inside the school move.
But what about like a electromagnetic thing around the object that you're trying to move?
Well, the electromagnetic is just fish being radiated. So electromagnetic force is really just light you can't see. Okay, it's the same force. It's the same thing. It's just not at a frequency, so your electrons can't detect it. But it's just like gravity, essentially. So it's all one force. It's either polarized or at a frequency, and that's the only thing that makes it distinctive. So magnetism is polarized force, and force at a frequency is light.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, that's interesting you were mentioning that, because, again, I was just bringing up another paper, which, again, is yet to be tested, but is in the docket for testing. How current loops and solenoids curve space-time. This particular one, they're actually proposing that the effects that they've detected using gravitational waves, the redshift phenomena for lasers, they found a way to use magnetic fields to replicate the same effect.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, I have no confidence, okay, in the claims, in these broad, these elaborate claims of these experiments that are dependent on huge levels of technology, and each one of those levels of technology demands a presumption, okay? I mean, all of their entangled particle theory depends on you thinking that mirrors don't change the photons that are reflected off of them, which, of course, I think is silly physics. I mean, quite obviously, photons are not reflected off of a mirror. They're absorbed by the mirror and then re-emitted by the mirror. The atoms re-emit the photons. They're not, there's no such thing as a pure reflection, so even that's nonsense. So I'm just saying, but all the premises these experiments are based on are just felonious. And I'm saying they can't even accurately describe the two-slit experiment. So this experiment is 200 years old, and they can't get that one right. Why should I trust them to tell me they got an experiment where they can count how many photons did this, and they know what the sister photon did, and then the antiparticle did this, and the bullshit. I think it's all bullshit. Sorry to be generic about it, but I think they've made the proofs beyond scrutiny. There's no way I can scrutinize these claims of gravitational waves. Their claim that they converted 2 black holes into 4 solar masses worth of bent space. How exactly do I, as a critic, say prove it? They don't have to prove it. They just claim it.
Well, I was actually going to say, funnily enough, this is where one of the major aspects of my paper comes in, is that we need a lot more training in mathematics and science across the board. This way we actually can have more peer reviewers of claims like this.
Well, we obviously all need to be more literate, but in science, in my opinion. But I mean, frankly, it's always going to be true, okay, that there's going to be expertise that no one has time to acquire all this expertise. I don't have time to become a master chess player and this and that and that and that. My brain can't do all these things, so I'm going to have to limit my capacity to be an expert at everything. My argument is that trust has to be earned, and I'm just saying I don't think physics has earned any trust. Okay, I don't think they deserve it, because if you do scrutinize even the old experiments, like I said, the whole wave theory, is suspect. It's completely based on a perverse Heisenberg interpretation. 2 photons, photons splitting in half and going through both slits. It's all a fairy tale.
Well, as for the aspect of being able to be able to learn everything, I would recommend this guy as a possible example of what we might become with the proper training.
I'm sure I'm not going to like him, but I don't know where you're posting it, so I can't say.
I'm in the chat.
I know. Well, sometimes I don't see this stuff, so.
Yeah. Ferdinand Waldo de Mera was one of the imposters who literally was able to learn things overnight. Saved 14 people during the Korean War by literally memorizing a surgeon's textbook less than an hour before he went up for surgeries. This is just one example of the multiple things he learned over the time. I'm just saying,
but I've never even heard of him, so he obviously didn't cure cancer, so he obviously didn't do anything. Maybe he was really good at reading books, but he really sucked at writing books.
Yeah. Well, again, there was a movie made about him, but again, this is the thing, is that even the movies that were based on his life that were made back, what was it, 1940? Yeah, here it is, 1960. Was the movie made about him?
I know, but we already know. I mean, this subject is supposed to be something about autism and stuff, and that's one of these catches, right? Is these idiot servant scenario, right? Your brain is devoted to one thing; it does one thing very good, but it can't do anything else. So, I mean, there's great artists who are great artists, but they can't wipe their own ass. So yeah, maybe this guy was really good at absorbing information, but he had no capacity to process it. So what good is he? He had no imagination. No imagination. What good is the information?
Well, actually, that's where, speaking of autistic savants who are high-functioning and can do multiple things well, this guy, Daniel Tammet, is another prime example. He wasn't just absorbing information. He literally was able to do entire stuff, including tutor. He made his living tutoring everybody in practically every university subject known to man. The man could learn a language in under a week idiomatically. Does incredible things with numbers that are, including creating entire new algorithms.
Yeah, well, I'm not a big fan of all this link mining, but fine. I certainly don't mind, but it's like, this is another problem with the world is people keep making the argument from sources, and so then it's like I've had this problem. Like I'll argue somebody physics, right? And then they'll point me to this experiment, then they'll point me to that experiment, then they'll point me to that. So then I go to the trouble to debunk one of their experiments, right? So I go to the page, I debunk the experiment. I point out how this hasn't been repeated, or this instrument they're claiming can do this, this, and this, and there's no evidence they can, detect a single photon, blah, 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 blah. And I don't get any reward for that, right? So every time I debunk something or I prove it's not quite what it's been stated to be, or it's been exaggerated or something, there's no personal, I don't get any reward for having to debunk all this evidence. So it's like, then it just goes to the credibility of the source. So I'm just saying it's a little bit dangerous when you just, are mining Wikipedia pages, because, yeah, I really don't have time to go through every Wikipedia page and say, maybe this guy isn't what you're claiming he's to be. I mean, I'm not saying you're not true. I'm just saying, regardless, I would claim just from logic, my logic intuition says, we're using all the brain we can to do the stuff we're doing. And if our brain becomes expertise at something, you're usually compromising something else. So you can almost say that Einstein was an example, right? He had lousy personal habits, didn't seem to have any social skills at all. So we always pay a price for excelling at something. So when you excel at something, you're usually taking it from something else. So if you see really well, you probably hear shitty, that kind of thing.
Well, the main problem, of course, though, with regards to arguing sources, is that this falls into the area with regard to where climate change deniers come in, because they'll basically say like, oh, well, they may, because of the fact that most of the time pro-climate science people, the ones who accept global warming have to exist, repeatedly have to cite sources to climate deniers. Climate deniers will often not end up checking the sources, largely because of the fact that they are still
again. But let's concede that it's not exactly a simple subject, right? So that's where that one gets tricky, because yes, people can't be experts at it, and even the experts can't be experts, if you really know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's really hard sometimes to be able to separate the short-term geology and what you can learn from it from the long-term geology, and to separate all these influences, and especially in this carbon chain theory, when you're going with carbon sinks and what's going to create the biggest carbon sink, because there's arguments can be made both ways, that, yeah, well, if you spread algae over the entire ocean, you could sink this much carbon in 10 years, and, well, what I'm saying? So it goes lots of different ways. It's almost like arguing fuel and energy and whether solar panels are worth it. It's not exactly, I would argue that in a sense, if you're truly an expert, it might be black and white, but you really have to be at a high level of knowledge for it to be a black and white subject.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is that physics is very much the same level, like most of the other sciences. But what I'm thinking is that if we can train people in the scientific method and the higher mathematics consistently earlier on, then at least when people take a look at this stuff, they'll be able to go, oh, well, the stats may or may not have been done right. Or,
I would agree, but see, mathematics, I tend to like mathematics because I like things that are clinical and straightforward. But that's the problem with mathematics now, right? It's because a lot of mathematics has lost its foundation. So they shove these symbols into an equation, and there's often equations where they'll have C in two places, right? This C means the constant C, and this C means ABC. That's kind of nonsense. I mean, they're almost indecipherably complex equations in the sense that you could make a semantics mistake reading the equation. So you couldn't even derive the equation properly because you've made a semantic mistake in interpreting the equation. So I think mathematics needs to get back to the core, which is, yes, we're showing you relationships, and they have to explain the relationship. You know, doing sine theta doesn't really mean much. They have to explain what sine is, which means we're proportionalizing the angle. We're saying what proportion of a 360-degree circle is this angle. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they have to make this into a more explicit model. The model is two. It's been turned into acronyms, and it's like doctors talking Latin. It's just cheating.
Okay. Speaking of, though, I just remembered something regarding the double slit experiment. I have a book which actually does have mathematical formulas pertaining to this. Let me go hunt my shelves for like 2 seconds, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, well, I don't think you're going to win the argument. I'm an expert on that subject.
I wasn't planning to win the argument. I was just planning.
No, I'm just saying that, you know, you can go ahead. I just don't know what you could possibly read out of a book that I haven't already heard about the double slit experiment, because I spent 2 years looking at every double slit experiment in the universe. But go ahead.
Okay, like I said, I'll be right back. I just want to find that. Particular book. Now, where did I put that quantum mechanics textbook? Here it is. I was wondering what it's gotten to. Just here. Sorry. This is actually one of the ones. This is one of the ones for a course I will be taking at UVic a little bit later on. So, just want to see if I can find it in here. I remember double slit interferent. Atom interferometer. Oh, hello. That's actually a nice little. Okay, double slit experiment, page 10. They also talk about atomic interferometry in here, which is actually kind of a nice little relation or related field. But
yeah, well, interferometers are. Yeah, that's a whole science that's kind of interesting. Like I said, it's again this mirror thing, which to me gets a little bit buggy. You know, the 50% mirror trick. You know, because either way, you know, I don't think the photon that goes in is the same photon going out.
Yeah, well, here's the field. Here's the section they were talking about for the issue. Are you familiar at all with these guys? I'm not sure if I can actually get these on screen very well here. We may have to maximize my screen temporarily to see them.
Well, I
They're
see the
quantum state
III,
vectors.
JJJ. You know, it's JK0.
Yeah.
Let's see, what are they calling this? Completeness. Completeness. I can see the word completeness. I don't know what that means exactly.
Yeah. Well, part of the basically what they're talking about here is that a large chunk of where the photons. Sorry, cat, not now. I'm a little preoccupied. Anyway, as I was saying, the key point is though is that a large chunk of where they're able to get the here, go this way, cat. A large chunk of where they're getting the descriptions of where the photons themselves are going is actually through classic linear algebra, but specifically with regards to vector space and stuff like that. Now, if you put those vector spaces together, what you can get is something more akin to a probability distribution. And that's
right. I mean, I think the idea that the whole thing being some sort of geometry makes sense. So obviously, to me, algebra would apply to the two slit experiment because it's a very consistent, rigid probability. So
yeah.
there's nothing mushy about it. So, but my argument is that the slits are the one creating the problem, right? So it's electrons that are, you know, look, Newton knew this, right? As you make the aperture smaller, right? What's happening? Well, the volume to surface area proportions are changing radically, right? So the smaller and smaller an aperture gets, the more likely a random photon is now going to interact with a surface, very close to a surface. And the more likely, in my opinion, hit electrons that are in the fields around all matter. So I'm just saying that it's a clear geometry. It's just refraction. It's not, there's no interference pattern. There's a refraction pattern.
And that's the thing.
And that's what the single slit kind of proves. The single slit kind of proves.
Describing that very.
Yeah, I just gotta wait for your lag to fix. I didn't, you know, you banjoed again. So I didn't hear what you just said.
You think it's a problem with the experiment itself, right?
No, I think it's a problem with their interpretation. The experiment is the experiment, so there's nothing wrong with the experiment. Obviously, they're interpreting the experiment and they're just ignoring the material and saying the slits the surfaces don't matter. Well, the the surfaces are the whole experiment. The filter is what's creating the phenomenon. The photons aren't doing it. The material you're shoving in front of them is doing it. And I'm just saying it's kind of obvious back in Newton's day. Like I said, Newton kind of saw this relationship that the smaller you make the aperture, you're changing the likelihood of how often the photon is likely to be right next to a surface. And the argument is that the surface has density. There's stuff around all matter. It's creating a field, and the field has electrons in it. The photons are hitting the electrons and being diffracted. I'm just saying the single slit kind of proves that the interference pattern is a diffraction pattern, because in the single slit experiment you have the interference pattern, where in water in a single slit you don't. So clearly, in my opinion, the single slit makes the whole conversation moot, because it's basically demonstrating to you that the pattern doesn't require two photons. And they have to use Huygens, this silly principle that they only use in this one circumstance, to create a second photon. And the only way they can do single slit math is they have to artificially create a second photon. And it's quite obviously artificial, because, like I said, Huygens is quite obviously artificial. It's not a real thing. They call it a principle, but it's a principle never applied anywhere except where there's a single slit.
Anyway, unfortunately, I'm getting a call to go take care of some other stuff. But it was definitely interesting talking to you, and thanks for the heads up on a number of these issues.
Yeah, it was good. Thanks. You're complimentarily something. Yes, curious anyway. So makes conversation easy when it doesn't have to degrade into an insult to match.
Anyway, catch you later.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, cool. Catch you guys later. See ya.
So, did my job, right? The lifeboat thing did it. Yeah, the lifeboat.
Yeah, it was good. I thought you hit like most of the main stuff, pretty fast.
Sorry. Every time I do this, I come into the room and then all of a sudden I'm in Scary's room again. No, sorry.
It turns in. Well, no, the physics. I mean, that's he was keeping up.
Yeah, well, he did it, right? I didn't even do it, right? I didn't start talking physics. He did. So it wasn't even my fault.
Yeah, he opened up the door.
He just kept trying to go there. The universe is no. The universe doesn't do that. No, it's good seeing you, Mike. I knew you were doomed. I could see you. That whole not sleeping thing. Yeah, after a while, that just gets you pretty wired, and reality's reality. Fuck that.
Yeah, it was like one of those grand mal seizures or something. I don't know. I'm all right though. I think I had to relearn like how to walk and write and shit, but I'm okay.
Yeah, well, you did it pretty quick.
Yeah, it was. Well, I was in like 4th grade for like the first 3 days. I was back to like, who the fuck am I for a little bit, but.
Well, like I said, it's you get yourself overtired, it can get pretty. I played with that as almost a drug. Was sleep deprivation, because it was kind of interesting. Because you could go places, just even physically, that were kind of interesting, but dangerous.
Dangerous. Yeah, very dangerous. I'm trying to be on like actually, sleep and do normal things. Trying to, at least.
Yeah, well, nothing normal about life, so.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to get used to it not being normal. You just always kind of feel wrong and out of it. So it looked like Dee played nurse well enough, though.
Yeah, she's
I was figuring
good.
she would leave town. She'd just say, "Oh, Mike's crazy. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm moving to California. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck him.
Too much trouble. Fucking seizures now. Oh, come on. All the weirdness shit, the fucking babbling, and the whistling tunes all the time. Well, that's one thing, but seizures. Fuck this."
Yeah, she's gotta like brush my teeth and stuff. It's really getting out of. It's too much for her.
Yeah, yeah. So I wheel you around. Yeah, this is drooling Mike. Yeah, he's really good at drooling. See how good he drools? Yeah. Special drooler. Got a special drooling ribbon. Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
special. Yeah, and a
yeah.
balloon. Yeah.
I gotta wear my
Yeah, if you get
helmet.
autistic enough, man, you can go to the Special Olympics and kick ass, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, go beat them retards. Yeah, I can run faster than those spastic retards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really strange disorder.
Yeah, well,
But it's all right, I guess. I don't know. I'm still
no,
very confused, but whatever.
you
I'll be
don't
all
have
right.
to be. Yeah, but you were pretty confused going in, so frankly, you've been
Oh
confused.
yeah.
Yeah, we've been confused for like 2 years or something. Whatever you, I don't know what you did, like you tripped on a curb somewhere and hit your head on a telephone pole or something. But yeah, you've been a little bit distracted, for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand things.
Folk,
Like,
folk.
wait, what the fuck? DJ, can you mute this guy? Oh, thank you. Oh, you just kicked him. Even better.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. Somebody's in my room. Fuck you! Get out of my room, you fucker.
So, yeah, I don't know. I've been kind of away from everything going on. I don't know if you've been mostly doing the physics rooms, right?
Mostly, I've been doing. I always make great videos, but it's all the same story. Goldilocks goes to Three Bears' house, gets eaten, then pooed, and then the bears all die of syphilis. So yeah, it's all the same story.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, nothing new. So yeah, everything's just kind of dead. But an old fan's got all kinds of troubles, and nothing's going too good for anybody. But it seems about right, right? Because we're all kind of dysfunctional, so nothing should go right. Mike just tripped on the curb and hit another telephone pole. Yep, didn't mean. Probably walked into the door. Oh, I forgot doorknob. Damn it, I forgot about that.
He's scared of the bathroom.
Yeah, it was the bathroom. It's chasing me. He keeps asking me questions. Oh, yeah.
Are you drawing something?
I'm coloring.
Yay. I got crayons and I color sometimes.
Isn't this awesome?
Oh, yeah, well, it's a little bit awesome. It's kind of buggy, though. Bugs. I don't know, I like
If
bugs.
I don't like bugs, I don't know why I'm coloring them.
Well, I guess you can at least make them pretty. Saw some little bees today, and they were all iridescent. And I said, "Yeah, well, that's such a cool look. So yeah, if you have to be a bug, it's cool to be iridescent. Iridescent green. It's a lot more
I would want to
impressive."
be sorry. I would want to be a dragonfly because like they're all like pretty and shit.
Yeah, and they, kill mosquitoes. So yeah, good on them. Just eat them mosquitoes, bud. Yeah, they're a little noisy when they fly, though, right? So yeah, I would want to have fluffier wings, I think. Yeah, they look a little too fragile too. I think I'd like to, I don't know, have like a bubble around me or carry water with me or something. I don't know, some kind of protection. Just too vulnerable. So I think I'd like to have like a bubble around me.
What's up, guys?
You got to turn your other video, you got to close the browser window that has the room in it because it's feedbacking. So when you close that, then everything will be cool. Yeah.
I liked your idea of like being a turtle as the prime example of living organism.
Yeah, well, it's not too good. Really, survival rate isn't too good, all that kind of shit. But yeah, I just like their attitude. Yeah, the turtle. Maybe I'm gonna do nothing today. Maybe I'll do something. I don't know. Things turtling. Yeah, no.
Turtling along through existence. Turtling.
Yeah, when you get tired, you just you got like instant couch. It's just like I think I'll go lie on the couch. Close it up for a while, guys. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Turn it all off now.
I keep trying to put on socks, but it's fucking retarded.
Yeah, well, that's not a very good sign, not being able to put socks on, but
No, I got them. They're like this.
well, buy better socks, then it won't be a problem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't spend money on clothes, so I have to wait until I get some kind of, all my socks are like you put them on and they, like the part you pull on just rips off. And you're just like, oh, I guess they're getting old. Bummer. But I have to put them on like upside down and crooked and sideways because the holes are all in the wrong places. So I have to move the holes to places that don't matter.
I like the whole like not wearing a shirt for like 3 months.
Yeah, but also, yeah, it's like I haven't worn clothes. I mean, even clothes. I don't wear clothes anymore. It's just so cool. Like, as a neighbor goes to work, I'm here alone, man. I just walk around naked, and it's just like, hey, yeah, this is kind of cool. I was never into this whole nudie thing, but yeah, I like it as long as it's me, right? I'm gonna look at some 400-pound bitch or anything. So yeah, that's cool. So yeah, it's just me naked. Yeah, that's cool.
I wish I could walk around naked all the time.
Yeah, I really have sort of enjoyed it. Yeah.
Like when I get back from work, the first thing I want to do is strip off all of my clothes and just get naked and just sit there. I don't care. Like watch movies, play video games, butt naked.
Yeah, well, the transition it would always be a little tricky for me in the sense that, in the old days, because getting naked is always somehow arousing, and so then once you get aroused, then you're like, oh, I got to do something with that, and and then you end up tired, you're all tired then, and so then you say, oh, fuck, I got to take a nap now.
Oh shit, I'm worn out now.
Yeah, well, that's not, I'm just saying that was the liability for me, So, but when you're naked all the time, then you don't have to take it quite as seriously. So you don't have to wank 4 times a day. So,
Why is America so offended by? Okay, so if you watch movies today, and you look at the violence that is in movies, and then you look at how certain movies have like. People being naked, it shows vaginas, it shows pussy, it shows penis, and that is considered so bad. But, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, how is violence considered so okay?
Well, I think that's changing. I think that's changing. I mean, I don't think that
it is changing, but in the past, it just recently passed. It was considered just like such a voodoo to be naked and oh my God, you know what I mean? But like you could watch a movie where people get their heads blown off and that's okay. It's
but just being naked wouldn't even mean anything to anybody anymore, right? They need you to, I don't know, you need to cut something up or you have to threaten or you have to, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's just it's like even sex they've turned into like where you have to have like fake boobs and it's all kind of. It's like the violence is gratuitous and the sex is gratuitous. They don't do just nudity. They do, bestiality or something. They do something kind of gross. I mean, that's how I interpret it anyway. It just doesn't. Well, movies don't do anything.
It has to be shocking and provocative.
Yeah, it's gotten so generic, It's like I saw little clips from that new Ben-Hur movie, and it's like they turned it into Gladiator, You know, they got another guy who just he talks like this, and you know, it's like professional wrestling. It's like Ben-Hur performed by Hulk Hogan, and you're like, oh no, Ben-Hur, Hulk Hogan, no, that can't be. You can't do that. Can't you find like a real actor, for fuck's sake?
There's a movie that really pushed the boundaries for that kind of thing, especially sexuality. It's called Antichrist. I don't know if you ever heard of it before, but it's I don't know what I think it's based out of the country France. The movie's called Antichrist, and it focuses on just sexuality, very 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 like in your face. You know, like, here's sexuality, here's a penis, you know what I mean? It shows penises. It shows a chick cutting her clitoris off. Oh my God, the movie, it's an incredible movie, but it's a symbolic movie. If you can enjoy that.
That just sounds exactly what I'm talking about being what's wrong with it. Is that, you know, they got to do something. They got to do something violent or rough or outrageous or crazy, or let's see if we can, you know, shove a bowling pin in some woman's, you know. I mean, it's just
exactly. Very interesting movie.
People need more and more. Like,
yeah, it's like I need less and less, which is the amazing part now. I mean, I can have sex with like oxygen. I mean, or like even hydrogen. I could fuck hydrogen now. I mean, I just make it simpler, simple. Just it's getting so simple. It's like you know. It's like I can almost wank mentally. I almost don't even have to do anything physical. Almost. I'm almost there.
Having a more simple life brings upon more happiness, in my opinion. I grew up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. The closest Walmart was 45 minutes away from my home. I mean, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, and now I live in California. You know, I'm in the military right now. I'm stationed here, but I don't like it at all. I miss the simplicity of life. I miss just being around nature. I just miss not having to worry about, you know, my car fucking payment, or just being around fucking people all the fucking time, fucking just breathing in shitty fucking air. I miss it so fucking much. People really take for granted the simplicities of life.
Yeah, well, the military thing just has my brain, you know, what the fuck? The guy's retarded. Drank too much lead paint. Yeah, sorry, I don't get the whole military thing.
No, it's okay. It was kind of like a impulse reaction.
I understand free pills are practical now. Just say, I know. It's like, you know, you got to say, look, I failed at everything. I'll go join the military. You know, can't fail at that, right?
I've met people that do that, but Michigan, I don't know if you know, the economy is actually absolutely fucking terrible.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm just saying.
I music for a living, but I'm a musician. I love music, and it was really hard for me to find people that I could play with, I could connect with, that people, you know, I mean, like I said, Walmart 45 minutes away, there's absolutely nobody. 2,000 people in my hometown. But I joined the military. It was an impulsory reaction. I actually regret it. I only have fucking like 6 months left. But,
well, I'm just saying, it's good. You know, once you're done with it, you know, then you'll be, you know, you're better off for it because, you know, benefits and whatnot. So it does have its perks. But yeah,
yes.
I mean, it's just an ugly business signing up for, yes, I will kill you if you pay me. You know, I'll kill them for you. Yes, I'm an assassin. Yes, I just kill whoever pays me. I kill wherever they point me. I just shoot.
Yes, it's crazy that you point that out too, because being in the military, I've learned a lot more. You know, I've actually lived it, so I've learned that these people, a lot of the people that are in the military, they are very, very complacent. They're very okay, yeah.
Point in a direction. You know, they're just.
I'm getting paid. I'm getting paid. I have a nice car. You know what? Blah blah. You know what I mean? That's their mindset. It really is, and I really don't fit in with this. I cannot wait to get out.
Yeah, well, good on you for that. At least you're not enjoying it.
Well, I'm keeping myself healthy. I'm keeping my mind healthy, but I do not enjoy my job.
Yeah, well, it's all a head game, you know. That's the whole game is inside your head, so it's all, you know.
I'm gonna go fill my beer.
Well, beer and military doesn't mix either. But whatever, because it's better than.
You'd be surprised.
Well, no, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm just saying that it's just, you know, if I was world dictator, that would be one of my rules: is soldiers don't drink.
You know what? That would be an absolutely very good policy because a friend of mine, I live in barracks. They're kind of like, do you know what like college dorms are?
Yeah, I get the idea. Sure, you got a partner and you know.
Yeah. So a military barracks is kind of like the same thing. Okay, so I live on a base. It's surrounded. It's got a fence around it and everything. But essentially I live in a dorm room, and you know we can't smoke weed, but we can drink our fucking brains out, and people overdose, people get addicted, and it's like the military spends like every Thursday. I go to work in the morning. I show up in the morning, and they give us a word. It's basically they tell us, you know, what we should do, what we should do in programs that are that the military is offering, and they tell us, you know, oh, okay, so there's these alcoholic programs that you can go to. It's like, why the fuck are you spending all this money on these alcoholic programs when you could just get rid of alcohol altogether? Legalize marijuana.
It's one of the things. I wouldn't bother with the marijuana either. I'm just saying, if you know, if you're going to do a certain kind of job, then the job requires a certain kind of willingness to be sober, and that's the way it is. You know, for me anyway. Certain jobs, you're going to carry a gun, then you're going to have to be a sober fella. You just can't be a drinker.
Well, I'm in the Navy, and everybody is half the time drunk off their asses, and they're hungover when they come to work. Everybody drinks. A person that was in my battalion just died. He overdosed in his barracks room on alcohol. It's like, when will the military realize that alcohol is...
Well, they probably have statistical data that tells them that this makes, you know, people more compliant and more controllable, and so that's what they really want. So, you know, that they don't mind losing a few to accidental death if they get more compliant, more controllable, you know, machines out of the process.
That's a good point, because, you know, if I go to work in the morning and I'm hungover, I really don't want to care. You know, if somebody tells me to do something and I know it's bullshit, if I know a second-class petty officer could do it, I'm just like, fine, I'll do it. You know, that's a really good point, actually, that you point out.
Well, they probably find that people are too, you know, they need richer entertainments if they're not drunk, you know. So it gets hard to keep them from going stir crazy. So, you know, they probably know it's a sedative, and it, you know, calms the whole, you know, in the long run. It's more calming than disruptive. But they, like I said, I just, you know, I would just want to be professional. So my obligation, you know, I'm not looking for a military full of good soldiers. You know, I'd be looking for responsible soldiers, kind of a thing. You know, I don't care how good they are. I just care that they were properly motivated.
Yeah, the thing I noticed, there's a lot of really good people in the military too. And when I say really good people, I mean very, very, very reliant people. You know, a lot of my friends that I knew back in high school, back home, if I asked them to do something, you know, hey, can you help me out this weekend? And they'd say yes. You know, say my car needed work, blah blah blah, blah, whatever, just a random thing.
Well, yeah, I know what you're saying. They're just, you know, you can't depend on them for anything, you know. And I think that's why the military is attractive to some people, is because there are rules and there's a kind of honor code and all of that stuff, and that stuff is very attractive to be in a community where, you know, you can trust people.
Yes, I will give the military that. The people that I know here Most of the people are very reliable people. I can trust them. I really like that about people. You know what I mean? That is one of the best
It's
things
like
I
it's like
love.
it's just
When you
like Mike and D are doing like the two slit experiment. It's like, yeah, where the surface is way over here, and there's the empty space in the middle.
Yeah.
Yes, the empty space. Yes, we're doing the empty space. Yes, more empty space than people. That's our best icon.
I think though, overall, for me personally, just for me personally, because it's different for everybody, this is not for me. I can't. I'm a more artistic person. I play music. I collect records. I listen to very obscure music. Most of the people in the military listen to country and rock. Just like, just bland bullshit. I just can't connect with people. So it's not for me. But for some people it is. Some people are very simplistic, and that's my 2 cents on the military, I think.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm against it in principle, but yeah, I'd probably be really horrible at practice. I'd end up in the brig in no time.
Oh, I've been in trouble plenty of times. My battalion does not like me because I'm very okay. So the main thing about the military is a perception, and if you ask questions, you're considered kind of like, I don't know, bad. Like if someone tells you, hey, tomorrow we have a uniform inspection. You have to bring 2 uniforms. You only have 3. You have to wear 1. You have to bring 2. And if you ask, why do I have to do that? Why can't I just call you on my phone and say, hey, my uniforms are fine. There's no tears in them or anything. They'll say, what? They get pissed off. If they don't like those kind of people. The people that ask questions, the people that have critical thinking, they want people that are just willing to kind of go with the flow, and they're okay
Yeah,
with
well,
just.
that's the game. I mean, obviously, that's what it's supposed to be. A machine, and everybody's supposed to just play their little part. You just be the wheel, or you be the fender.
They're not necessarily stupid people, because I know a lot of people in the military, and I know a lot of people in the military get a lot of shit. Like, oh, they're stupid. They just follow the rules. They're not necessarily stupid people. They're just kind of like a very complacent people. That's what I would say. You know what I mean? They're just okay with the norm.
Well, I'm still gonna say you're stupid because you're killing people that you have no business killing. Because some rich guy says kill them, you're killing them. That's bullshit. I ain't gonna fuck with somebody else's life unless I got a reason to. So until you show me Adolf Hitler or something, I'm not going somewhere, fucking up somebody else's life in their own backyard. I mean, that's just rude. The military is fucking rude. Yeah.
The military, we fucking just we're almost like an empire. It's ridiculous. I think we should scale back on the military. We should stop trying.
Yeah, I don't know. You gotta threaten people and all that kind of stuff. So you still got to make it look like you got something. But yeah, I'm just opposed to this whole thing of flying a drone from some basement in Iowa. That's just such pussy shit. If I want to take somebody out, I kind of want to be able to look in their eyes and say, look, I'm killing you for a reason. I'm not just some asshole sitting and playing a video game. And the video game says you die because you don't have technology. I mean, it's like beating the shit out of a midget in a fight or something. It's just like fucking cheating, Oh yeah, yeah, I blew him up with one of my cruise missiles. Yeah, all he had was a sword. Loser. Yeah. Sure. Man, it just doesn't give you that.
I can see where you're
kind of feeling. It just kind of shrivels your balls and makes you feel like a bit of a cunt, right? I mean, yeah, I'm winning because I have all the weapons and he doesn't have any. Yeah, I win.
That's the thing, man. Like I was saying, you know what I mean? They want people that don't think critically. They're not necessarily stupid. I know you say stupid people. I understand where you're coming from, but they have the ability to hold knowledge, if that makes sense, but they don't embrace it. they are willing to just let it go and just go with it, follow the rules. I am a robot. Yes. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm just saying, but there's an implicit endorsement of the game. That's all I'm saying. There's obviously they have somehow in their brain said God wants me to do it, or they've done mommy thinks it's a good idea, or something's in their head that's giving them some idea that this is what being a good human is. And it's like
there's a lot of very Christians too in the
military. There's video human. So Mike, you still in the room there, Mike? Hello, Mike. Testing.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I'm just finding out because you're doing that, empty space icon thing, which is kind of funny. You and D are both getting on both ends of the icon, so there's nothing in the middle. So it's like. Yeah.
Wait,
sorry if
Well, see, you're seeing yourselves in widescreen, so I guess you have the impression that you're like D is in the image, but she really isn't. Not in the icon. So when you're not talking, it's like you don't exist. Okay, that's better. Yes.
Hey, Inmendham, I just want to say this is my first live chat, and I think you're a really interesting person. It's nice talking to you one-on-one.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I guess I'm, I don't know. Well, interesting is completely subjective, right? So, yeah, I don't know if I can take that as a real compliment.
Well, for me,
I'll ask Mike. Mike will be able to turn it into shit, right? Mike, that doesn't mean anything, right? When somebody says, "Hey, you're very interesting," that's like saying, I don't know, your farts barely smell at all. Maybe
You're abnormal.
yeah. It's just I don't know if it's really. I don't know if I can turn that into something good or not. Yeah, interesting.
And who is that girl that you did kind of like a show with? You kind of did like a collab with her. She was on a popular MTV show. She got interviewed by a popular MTV.
And that was MTV, right? That was whatever it was.
MTV.
Joe 40901 or something, whatever that show was. You mean Old Fan, right?
She's a female. She's kind of heavy set. She wears glasses.
Yeah, that's Old
I
Fan.
can't
Yeah, her screen name is Old Fan. Her name is Amanda, but her screen name is Old Fan.
The only reason I'm asking is because I'd like to subscribe to her. I think she's really cool.
It's Old Fan. It's spelled with a P, so it's OLDPHAN.
Okay, thank you. I'll check her out more.
Yeah. Well, you got to see the movie, The Epholist. We'll go to the website, The Epholist, right? That movie was pretty amazing.
But she usually posts under Forever Wolf Films.
Oh yeah, that's right. Jason, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so I should have remembered that, right? Her name's Old Fan, but it's Forever Films, right? You're right. Well, I guess it might be linked to Old Fan, but yeah. So if you want to see her videos, it would be on Forever Wolf Films.
The show was Tosh.0 on Comedy Central.
Yeah, that's the show, right?
It's just it's really hard to come across. Hello?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so it's really hard to come across very genuine YouTube channels, and I think one of the few genuine YouTube channels. I'm not just kissing your ass. This is my first time talking to you, but you, the girl you mentioned, I can't even remember her name. I'll subscribe to her. And Styx, Hex, and Hammer. Those three YouTube channels I really enjoy watching. It's refreshing. It really is. Because there's so much fucking bullshit on this fucking website. It's nice to come across some genuine people.
Yeah, well, the money sure did ruin it all. Once they did the whole partner thing, and then they started giving, everybody started thinking about how much money they're making instead of whether or not they were saying anything that meant anything. So, but yeah, it's YouTube is not exactly what it used to be, but the whole world is kind of I was going to do a video on it tonight just because I sort of wanted to talk about just how it's so much more connected, but there's so much more noise now that you can't. It's like I've been going to these physics group that have like 100,000 members, and nobody's talking to each other. They're just posting crap. So everybody's saying something, but nobody's communicating anything, and nobody's challenging anything or having a discussion about anything. And it's like I can't find somebody to argue with online. It's just so funny, right? I'm sitting here saying I want to make arguments, videos. I'll argue with you, and there's nobody to argue with. Nobody wants to make videos arguing anything, and it's like
it's like having just a regular discussion like you and I are having is become boring. You know, we need flashes in our face. We need colors. We need pictures. You know,
I don't even mind doing that though. I wouldn't mind if we had fucking sword fight debates or something, or you added some little color to it. I don't mind a little bit of color. You know, like we could electrocute each other when we win a point or something, and the audience could electrocute either one of us or something. That would be cool with me. But I just mean the whole fact that nobody wants to do this, have a contest and have a fight for something, or make arguments, and it's like everybody's just avoiding that. Everybody's just making speeches, and it's just like, fuck, this is just a speech war. Nobody's.
I think I agree with you on too much, so I will try to debate you right now. What is your favorite band?
Yeah, well, that's kind of a Bananarama. Yes, the chick thing.
I don't know what Bananarama is, man. I'm a huge.
You don't know Bananarama? Come on, man. Chick band. Go look it up, man.
Sounds like some fun.
Well, that other band with the chicks, right? What was that? That Hazy Days of Winter or whatever song? And what the hell was it? What are they called? The three chick band, right? Three chicks? Yeah, I think it's three chicks.
Four. No, that's four. Four non-blonde. Not three non-blonde. Four non-blonde.
And what was the name of that other one? Manic Monday was one of their songs.
Are you a Cars fan?
No.
Me neither.
I'm a creature of the, I grew up in the 70s, so, yes, so, music died literally, somewhere around like 1987 or something.
What would be your most liked, if you had to pick like a more heavy band, even go all the way to like death metal, what would be your favorite band? Your like heaviest favorite band? For example, say Black Sabbath or Led Zeppelin.
Well, Led Zeppelin, I only liked like 2 songs, right? So,
yeah.
So it's, the 2 that I liked were good, so that I could live with that. But I like Lita Ford, right? I mean, she was sort of hard ass. Well, she did have a hard ass, but I just mean, she was sort of metalish. Yeah, I'm a chick guy. I just, I don't much like guys yelling at me, so I always liked women doing the singing.
Yeah, females
have about and all that kind of stuff. It just makes it a lot more consumable if there's a chick doing it. So I was always, I just, as a kid, I just played Linda Ronstadt. Like, I only had like 2 records. So like Linda Ronstadt and that stupid, the one everybody hates. What's her name? The Australian blonde hair thingy. What's her name? Olivia Newton-John. Yeah, I had her record. It was all quite sappy.
AC/DC fan?
Yeah, no, thank you. Nope.
AC/DC is very simplistic. I think
everybody can have one good song. There was a band I really hated. What was it called? But they had this Fire. What was it called? Something Fire. Candle Flame song, and it was such a good song. It was like the only ballad they ever did, and it was just beautiful. And it was.
Was it Free? The band Free? They sang.
No, Cheap Trick.
Oh, Cheap Trick. Okay.
I couldn't stand anything they did. Everything, I hated its guts. And then they had this one thing called like Fire or Flame or something. I think it's Flame.
Did you like I Want You to Want Me?
Well, not enough to say, oh, gee, that really stimulates me or something. No, I mean it was tolerable radio music, but it wasn't. I didn't like,
Yeah.
It didn't do anything for me. It wasn't like Hotel California or something.
Yeah.
I mean, there was music I could stand because it was just so well constructed. Like Hotel California was just such a well constructed instrumental, and it was just so.
Yeah, the Eagles.
I could listen to that shit forever. You could just play that over and over and over again. I just don't get tired of it.
There's something about the Eagles that kind of, because I'm a big death metal fan, but the Eagles are like the opposite of that. They're very calm. They're very relaxing, and they're very.
I get vicariously stoned every time. It's like I could play, Hotel California, and I'll get stoned. I mean, it's just such a. I mean, it's so tied to times in my own maturation, I guess. But yeah, I mean that that stuff is stuck in my head.
I don't know if you've ever heard the actual live version. Yeah, I think it's like kind of like a acoustic live version. It's excellent. YouTube it sometime if you get the chance. The Eagles.
Yeah, I tend not to be a big fan of modification. I kind of like well-produced music. So sometimes when it's underproduced, it pisses me off because it's like, it's not doing what it's supposed to do. It doesn't have that little zinger in there, and it doesn't have the same flow. But I have to admit that Kurt Cobain guy was pretty good. I remember seeing him on Unplugged on MTV. And he was so much better unplugged. I mean, unplugged, he really was good.
Yeah. Yeah, Kurt Cobain was an excellent artist. Have you ever heard of the band Opeth before? They put out an album called Pale Communion. And it's kind of like a classic rock revival. And it's very well produced. It reminds you a lot of, when you listen to it, you can hear Pink Floyd, you can hear Led Zeppelin in it. And it's a wonderful album. It got a lot of bad reviews because this band, prior to making this album, was like a hardcore death metal band. They did the whole crap and very, very heavy guitars, and they decided that they would change their style. And it's an absolutely wonderful album. I love it very much.
Yeah, well, some people are just good at that. It's
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, Cheap Trick. They were really good at ballads. They sucked at everything else, but if they had a decent piece of music, they were really quite good. But yeah, I'm not a music expert anyway. I probably should be talking about Mike with music because I'm a.
You're more like
music.
Like scientific stuff than I'm more musical. I like listening to you because I actually like when I'm listening to your videos. I Google things that you say because I'm like, what does that mean? Because you're very, very surgical with the way you speak and the things that you talk about, and I learn a lot actually watching your videos. I enjoy it a lot. I really enjoy it a lot because it's like the opposite side. Most of the time I'm watching music videos and stuff like that, so it's interesting.
Yeah, it's it's interesting again, but that's good. Yeah, no, I'm glad you get some value out of it. Sometimes it does get a little discouraging. You just keep, you keep throwing the pies, but it's like I'm not hitting enough. Too many misses. But it's got nothing better to do. Fight the fight, as they say.
Is that a song?
Fight the fight. Sounds somebody right. Fight the fight or die, fucker. Yeah, now it's a song. Fight the fight or die, you fucker.
I'm like, is that a song?
Just wrote it. Just wrote it.
Did you see the Right to Die songs?
Right to Die. Who is that? Is the band named Right to Die, or is that a song?
It's Inmendham songs.
Oh, yeah, my guitar. Yeah, my guitar playing. Yeah, that was really quite brilliant. Oh, brother. That was pretty bad. I have to do that again. Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't see that series? It was like,
Yeah.
give me the right to die, my friend.
You fuckers
Whose life
or else
always
I'll kill you,
ends.
fuckers. I'm a psychotic lunatic, and if you don't let me kill myself, I'm probably going to take one of you fuckers out with me when I go. Fuck you and such. Baby. Yeah, I'm very good at writing songs. That's funny.
I'm not good at writing lyrics, but I'm pretty decent at writing guitar tones and stuff. I don't know if I could beat that.
Yeah, well, it's all like so many things. There's a certain mechanics to it. It's formula, unfortunately. But yeah, you got to kind of get formula. Yeah, I'd like to, I'd like to have 15 other Jerrys, so each one of them could do something different. So I think I have, yeah, I think there's a musical person inside of me just waiting to get out. I won't let him free.
So, what are your thoughts on there's this up and coming YouTuber named Atheism is Unstoppable. His name is Devin Tracy, and his early videos made a lot of good points, especially against Islam and things like that, and like Black Lives Matter movement, and how it was kind of more of a destructive force than a good force. You know what I mean? And lately, his videos have just been in downfall. I don't know if you follow him or not, but I'm just wondering your thoughts on him. I watch him. I watch you too. I watch you and I watch him. I watch a lot of different YouTubers, but I was wondering your thoughts on him, if you watch him or not.
I think I saw something. I just guess I wasn't terribly impressed. But yeah, a lot of these arguments I just don't think don't get to the core of things in a straight enough line. So it doesn't do me any personally. It doesn't do me any. I don't find it terribly interesting. I mean, I think the arguments against religion are so dense, that it's almost like not worth arguing. You're just like saying, well, if you're too stupid to figure out there's absolutely no good reason to believe there's a God in heaven sitting around conspiring to create this slop.
Yeah.
I just on so many levels. I mean, why would I even want to mess with a God that's as fucked up as God would have to be, right? I will give all women for eternity the curse of a period and pain in childbirth as punishment for that skanky bitch Eve. I mean, that's just like, what kind of cunt does that? I mean, that's worse than fucking Hitler. I mean, we should send the military to go kill God. God is the biggest. Yeah. He's fucking enemy number one. He should be on the top of the FBI list.
Exactly. If the Christian God was actually real, I would fucking deny him, because he is a fucking angry God. He is a hateful God.
Yeah. I mean, I'd at least paint Hitler mustache on him or something, but yeah, I wouldn't play along. Especially
the First Testament.
I wouldn't be terribly impressed anyway. I don't, the whole pearly gate thing. When you read about what heaven's described as by the Christians, it's just kind of funny, right? You got
Look at the Bible.
You got pearly gates, and then you have a bunch of rubies and emeralds all around the bottom of the gates, and wow, rubies and emeralds. I'm just so excited. I just can't wait to die. I can go rub the rubies. Ooh, I'm rubbing rubies. Doesn't sound like fucking heaven to me.
Exactly. And if you look at what like Satan did in the Bible, it pales in comparison to what actually
Judas. Look at Judas, right? Judas is supposed to be the ultimate villain. And what was Judas's crime? He gave up everything he had to follow Jesus, And then when push came to shove, he asked Jesus, well, what the fuck are you doing? I mean, I go to all this work to get us crap to sell, and then you're wasting this oil on your stupid feet. You're having some fucking slut rubbing oil on your fucking feet. Why are you doing that? And then Jesus says, the poor will be with you always. I'm just here for a short while, and I'm special, obviously. You know, and Jesus said, fuck, I gave up everything to follow this asshole. So, yeah, so Judas is the criminal. Judas's standards were higher than Jesus's standards. Gee, what a horrible person.
Jesus is the equivalent to the progressive hippies of today that ignore everything that is wrong.
Yeah, it's all talk, you know, really, exactly. When push came to shove, Jesus is, you know, getting privileged treatment and thinking he's special. He's only here for a short while, unlike the rest of us who are here for a pretty short while too. And we're not going to paradise when we die. We're supposed to be going to hell. So Jesus, seems to me you got the better deal than I got.
Exactly. What are your thoughts on paganism
Oh, it's just
and how? That's very vague.
Holy selfishness. Let's all bow to the holy selfishness. Yeah, that's fine.
It's a very vague question. I think I mean more or less. What are your thoughts on how the Christians kind of condemned the, let's say the Norwegian pagans, and how they kind of they suppressed them and basically destroyed their ideology. And I've researched the pagan ideology, and it's nothing like any monotheistic religion. It worship,
but it's also nothing like civilization either. So, you know, frankly, it's like comparing, you know, hemorrhoids to herpes. I mean, I don't want either one.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, generally speaking, pagans were just they're celebrating the donut, and they're not recognizing that they have slaves, and the slaves are the ones paying for the donut, or that kind of thing. It's just not ethical enough for me to give it any credit as being a philosophy. It's the philosophy is let's celebrate celebrating, you know, and it's just fuck you.
Yeah. What do you mean by slaves, though?
Well, I just mean that many of the pagans would sacrifice virgins or something. You know what I'm saying? They would minimize the cost of their celebration, the party. You know what I mean? So they wouldn't. It's like the alcoholism thing. They would get drunk but wouldn't acknowledge the price paid in terms of dead kids on the highway or something. I mean, they were more nihilist than pagans, I guess is what I'm arguing. They're more, or like I said, they were just kind of glorifying selfishness in a way. Pagans aren't very good at recognizing responsibility and being temperate, and so that's obviously why the Christians had a problem with them, because they're almost uncivilized. They're savage.
Well, what I've learned from research, a lot of moral behavior came from pagan belief. Like, for example, the woman of a pagan tribe could divorce her husband, and it wasn't considered, voodoo. It wasn't considered bad. That's just one example I have. And from what I've learned, I don't know where, if my sources are bad or anything, but the Christians from the UK, I forget the specific denomination or anything, but they didn't agree with that, and that was a big part of them trying to convert pagans into.
Well, obviously, the Christians, the divorce was one of the only subject that Jesus actually spoke on, and made it clear that you're going to hell if you get divorced. So
I didn't know that, really.
Yeah. The guy asked him, because it got complicated because So the first answer, Jesus, the guy asked, you can't, if you put away your wife, was the way it was stated, you're going to hell. And then the question got more complicated. It said, what if my brother dies and I take his wife? And, who am I going to heaven with? And then that's when the famous line, Jesus says, the kingdom of God isn't of this earth. And he's basically saying that the wife you have now is irrelevant because when you go to heaven, there's not going to be wives and there's not going to be any of this crap anymore.
Yeah.
So it was a kind of a vague reference, but the point was is that Jesus says, God is not of this world, and so the fact that you have 3 wives on this world doesn't mean you're going to go to heaven with 3 wives.
I guess that sheds light on why I disagree with the, I guess, because personally, I consider Judaism, Christianity, and Islam one religion. I consider them the Abrahamic religion, and because they all believe in the same God, more or less, and I feel that it's a very, very, very destructive ideology.
Well, technically, though, it has the same origin, but that's like, the Christians just should have cut the Old Testament off of the Bible and said this is the part that doesn't count anymore. They should have made a clear distinction that there's nothing in the Old Testament, that Jesus changes all the laws. And Jesus basically was saying that. I mean, Jesus was saying, in this conversation about divorce, Jesus even says, Moses gave you divorce because he acquiesced to your sin, okay? He was basically saying that Moses' laws gave you the option of divorce because Moses couldn't make you into decent people. So he had to acquiesce to your desire, but God doesn't want you to do that. So that's the funny part, right, is that Moses is supposed to be hearing directly from God, and now Jesus is basically saying, well, Moses didn't really do that. That was a very pretty bug. Thank you very much.
The little I've studied, that is wow, you are a very good artist. From the little I've studied, and I'm not sure if I'm correct, but I'd like to ask you, because I think you might be more knowledgeable on this subject, is the Torah, I think the Torah is kind of like the Jew Bible, basically. Is that the Old Testament? From what
it has the Old Testament in it, right? So it has the same history. So you could say that like Genesis and the history of mankind is the same, but the Torah is like a living document. So the Torah.
So that's the only difference between Christianity and Judaism, or?
well, like I said, the difference is that the Torah has evolved, like it's almost like the Muslim religion. If you're an Ayatollah, you can rewrite, in a sense, the interpretation of Muhammad's writings. But if you're not, you can't. So I'm just saying, so the book is subject to modification. So the Torah is subject to reinterpretation. But the Torah just has a lot more, like the Bible has some stuff in there about like give a dead bird, if you find a dead bird, you give it to a poor man, you don't eat it. Well, the Torah is just full of that kind of crap, like, don't stick your finger in your ass and then, stick it up your nose. It just has all this like obvious, rules about like washing your hands and your feet and
Why do Jews? You know how if you look at Jews, you look at Christians. Christians are very, they dress normal, all this stuff. Jews have, they have the knots in their hairs, and so none of that's written in the Old Testament. Well,
it actually is, though. Some of it is, and then we just don't obey it. I mean,
I'm asking.
The Bible has a lot of dress codes in it, and has a lot of, like, women are supposed to wear their hair long to keep themselves covered and humble and all of that kind of crap. So men are, there's a thing in there about beards or something. So it has the same kind of nonsense. It's just not as highlighted.
So is what's that really hardcore Judaism called? It starts with a Z. Zionism. What's the difference between Judaism and Zionism? I've always wondered that.
Well, I mean, it's just the chosen people argument. Obviously, they're taking it kind of seriously, and the idea is to preserve the Jewish race as a superior race of mankind because it's God's chosen people, and so it's just a little bit of racial arrogance.
Okay. Yeah, because I wasn't sure about that. I've always wondered.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is. All these religions are obnoxious because they're just, they just emphasize these differences that we don't need to highlight in each other. So we really don't need more problems to create conflict over. But it is a problem because obviously everybody wants to take over the world. I want everybody to be like me. Quit being like you fucker. Be more like me.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think they are obnoxious, but I do like knowing about them, and I like learning about them. So if somebody asks me, I don't sound like a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? And I can school their asses.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a real difference between the Jews being Jewish seriously, like it's heritage and a race, and then Jews who are just Jewish, but and a little bit religious, because it is a huge difference. I mean, there's such a variety in the manifestation of people's Jewness. You know what I'm saying? They're just being a kind of a tradition. It's like me being an American or something. It's like a heritage thing. It's not really it's not something I need to be. It's just something I'm dependent on because I've been raised in that culture.
Do you find any religion specifically being more dangerous today than any other religion?
Well, I just think if you impoverish any of them, they all become lunatics. So it's like, the Christians, if America goes in the toilet, we saw that, when in the 70s and 80s, you saw all these bands of loony Christians in the woods with their guns, and all the militia nuts and the rest of it. So Christians can be just as fanatical when you put them in the Stone Age. So I don't think the religions are any different. I mean, obviously, because we're fighting a war with Islam, obviously they look like a violent religion. But I'm just saying, if somebody starts a war with the Christians, and the Christians are outnumbered, and the Christians are out technology, the Christians are going to look just as barbaric.
That's a good point, because I talk to my friends a lot, and I tell them, if you took Christianity from America and you took Islam from the Middle East, and you swap them, say Islam was more prevalent in America, and we had our same laws and all blah blah blah. I think that in the Middle East, because it's so the government, everything's so kind of chaotic. Everything is very tribal. It's not necessarily the religion specifically, but it's more or less.
Well, like I said, there would be a different religion. I'd say the only argument is that Islam is fundamentally flawed in that Islam has this thing where it basically says by rule that everybody else is a killable heathen. Anybody who isn't a Muslim, you should kill.
Yeah.
And
it's more
although Christianity has the same attitude in some ways, I mean, obviously Jesus has a lot of his live by the sword, die by the sword, Good Samaritan stories. So Jesus is supposed to be bringing a lot more tolerance than I would say anything in the Islamic religion has. I mean, Muhammad was not a tolerant fellow.
No, he wasn't. He was a fucking warmonger.
Yeah, child molester, he was a lot of negative things. Chauvinist,
That's another thing too. In our society, in America, I would say third wave feminism, because I do agree with first wave feminism. I do agree that women should have equal, obviously, all the kind of things that any reasonable person would agree with. But third wave feminism has morphed into kind of like this ideology, and it's like there's women in the Middle East that are being suppressed aggressively and you don't want to acknowledge that. You want to acknowledge, like
They're
some.
acknowledging it. They can't fix it. So what the hell does that have to do with it? I mean, you don't have elections here based on who's Ayatollah in Iran. So I mean, I'm just saying that we have our own politics to deal with, and you don't say whether something's worth doing by saying, well, in Brazil they just let the orphans roam the streets. Why don't we do that? Because it's okay in Brazil. I mean, that's not saying, oh, we're civilized because, look, we're not as bad as Brazil. Well, being not as bad as Brazil doesn't make you civilized. So I'd say that's a bullshit argument.
But we have the Peace Corps, so why does it seem so...
They're not even going to let the Peace Corps in their country, so what's the point?
You won't let them in their country?
The point is Islam has nothing to do with American politics. They're separate countries. We don't dictate the ethics of the imams.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I guess my point is, I think these third-wave feminists should kind of put their efforts into creating something like the Peace Corps.
Well, why should they? Why? That's not their business. Their business is they live in a democracy and they're arguing for what our civilization should look like. They're not arguing what the fucking other country's civilization should look like. They can't vote there. They can vote here. They can speak here. They're going to get killed if they try to speak over there. And they're not doing any of that stuff, but I'm just saying, I'm not going to sit there and fight a battle I can't win. Why the fuck should I do that? I'm going to fight fights I can win. I can't argue with fucking Islam. Islam doesn't like arguing. They like shooting.
I agree with you. I think, and I know you disagree with Donald Trump on a number of things, but I hear like a lot of, I feel like Donald Trump, I disagree with him on a lot of shit, but I agree with him on minor things, and it has to do with Islam. Not necessarily the banning all Muslims, but recognizing that it is a problem.
I wouldn't mind banning all Muslims. I wouldn't mind banning all religious kooks. We don't need no fucking religious kooks in this country. So I'd almost have that as a test. You can't immigrate here if you don't believe in secular government. If you don't believe in secular constitutional government, then go fucking someplace else. So if you can't embrace the Constitution of the United States, which basically says there should be a separation between your stupid, idiotic religious beliefs and what you impose as law. There should be a clear separation between what your God tells you and what you can tell other people. As long as you understand that, then okay, go ahead, immigrate. But otherwise, fuck you, get the hell out of here.
Yeah. What do you specifically disagree with Trump on? I'm just asking because...
Well, I don't agree that it makes any sense to build a wall because walls have to have men on them. So that's just preposterously expensive, first to build it and then second to put the men on it to defend it. And it's just going to be a thing, like all walls, it's going to end up looking like a piece of shit after about 2 years. It's going to be desecrated all over the fucking place. It's just going to be a stupid, idiotic waste of money.
I did actually a Google search, or a Google Earth search, to compare the China Wall to the wall that Trump wants to build, and it's almost the same size. And the Great Wall of China is fucking huge. I know he says he wants to make Mexico pay for it and all this stuff. I don't necessarily...
There's no way to make anybody pay for any of this stuff. I mean, their whole plan is so idiotic. He wants to take Google's money that they have invested in foreign countries and steal it. Like somehow it's not in America. And it's like, it's not in America because it's invested in another country, you idiot. You can't steal their money.
Okay, so... I watch Sticks, Hex, and Hammer's channel. He's a Sticks, Hex, and Hammer 666. He's a great channel with politics. He says that if Trump gets elected, we will go into World War III. What are your thoughts if Trump gets elected?
Well, it doesn't matter. We're going to go bankrupt anyway. So I don't know, World War III with who? Nobody has a military capable of fighting with us, so I don't see World War III unless you're going to say unified Europe against America. But I mean, no one else has got a military that can come anywhere close to us. So I don't know how the fuck you could have a world war. I mean, Russia doesn't even have... Russia's military is in shambles.
Yeah. Yep, and they're like, I think China's second, and I did a Google
Yeah, well,
search.
China's completely dependent on having more soldiers, and the soldiers are irrelevant. It's a technology thing.
Especially in the nuclear age too.
Well, I'm just saying that it's just not the game you're going to be playing. It isn't going to be about men you're putting across a border. That's not going to define victory. And they just end up needing infrastructure, and they end up, not being able to hold the territory they take. It's a lot harder to hold territory now because it's so easy to fight a guerrilla war. You know what I'm saying? Individual technology has increased. We all have. I have the knowledge to make a bomb. You know what I mean? I can make one. And so if some military tries to occupy my hometown, I'm gonna make their life a little bit uncomfortable. You know what I mean? In like the old days, where we're all gonna sit in our houses and cower. No, we're gonna fuck you up. We're gonna guerrilla war you out of the economy of occupation. That's why we couldn't take Afghanistan, because we couldn't hold any territory. Anytime we took a city, it took too many men to keep it. And so we had to keep evacuating. So the only thing we got Kabul, and we got nothing else, because the only way we could hold the place is we had to build a wall around it and then turn it into a zone and basically force everybody who was a little bit suspicious to get out of town. And that's the only way we could hold territory.
Yeah. I've watched a few YouTube videos that are online of Vladimir Putin, and I've watched the English translations of what he says, and I actually agree with a lot of the things he has to say. It kind of makes me reassess the thoughts I've had about Russia and the relationships.
Russia has a different relationship with Islam. Obviously, Russia has a huge border, with all the Islamic countries. So Russia is playing a completely different game than we're playing. We don't have any border with Islam, so we don't have to make any permanent agreements with Islam. So yeah, we're playing different games. I mean, Russia's obviously out for its long-term interest, which is it has to make a contract. It has to make a deal with Islam, and it knows it. It knows it can't. It has to have enough civilization in the Middle East to make contracts. It knows that's inevitable.
Do you think that we'd be better off having better relations with Russia and basically, essentially going with Russia's mindset and just whatever their agenda is, going with their agenda?
They don't have an agenda that's different than our own anymore. So I mean, they are now a capitalist country, so they've given up anything that meant anything. So the only thing we have is regional differences, and again, those are important regional differences, right? I mean, we're Christians fighting for whatever, you know what I mean? Our neighbor is we got Mexico and Canada. Russia has China in the Middle East.
They got Ukraine, fucking Lithuania.
Well, I'm just saying those are not countries that are going to be harmful. I'm just saying that it has a border that's a lot more complicated than our borders. So Russia's playing a completely different game than we're playing. So their interests are different than our interests. So I can see us having some conflict. But I'm just saying the whole idea of us being anti-Russia because Russia is somehow still connected to communism is kind of idiotic, because Russia is owned by 13 families now. I mean, it's a monarchy, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I agree with that because that's kind of like the point I was trying to get at. I don't think Russia is necessarily a threat. I think they could be an asset to us, especially against, like we've talked before, Islam and the threat that Islam has.
Well, I'm just saying that we don't necessarily have this. We're not going to pick the same side in that battle. So I don't know whether that's a problem or not. But part of that is still going to go back to old relationships and the Balkan states versus, so you got the moderate Muslims versus the fanatic Muslims, and obviously I think Russia's still going to have some hard feelings about us arming the Taliban in the first place.
I'm sorry. What is the Balkan states? I'm sorry.
Well, I just mean the stuff, the stuff between Russia and the Mediterranean. You know what I mean? The southern part. You know what I mean?
Okay, okay.
All of those little countries that line the bottom of Russia. You know what I mean? They're all little dinky pieces of shit countries, but they're a buffer between um, uh, 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 moderate Muslim and fanatic Muslim. So that's their buffer. So it's like having a state in between us and Cuba. You know what I mean? Like that's socialist and not quite as social. You know what I mean? It's their buffer states. And that's what Russia has a real interest in doing, is expanding that buffer.
You think? So you think Putin kind of wants to expand the Russian government towards those countries, or do you think he wants
I mean,
to?
ideally, why wouldn't he want to build a bigger union? Yes, you always want to build a bigger union, get all the way to the Persian Gulf, and then you can really do some business in the world. Because they have a ton of gas and oil to export, and it'd be really nice to get to that Persian Gulf market.
Yeah, yeah, because I don't know how many natural resources Russia has or not. Do they have a lot?
They have a ton. They have a ton of oil. So you know, the oil prices tanked, and that really hurt Russia. But they have a ton of oil.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Putin is a good leader. Personally, I don't know his. I personally don't know what to make of his personal agenda.
Well, I think he's a little bit of a whack job, to tell you the truth. So I don't, you know, and I don't think he has any ideology. You know, he's just got politics. Politics isn't ideology. So I don't think he's very valuable, because I think he's less principled than Castro. I mean, I don't think he has any. I don't think he has a soul. I think he's just a politician. He's fucking Hillary Clinton. You know, he's just a mouthpiece for a bunch of special interests.
Did you see her DNC speech?
No, I'm going to eventually have to watch it and critique it, I suppose. But I'm just so sick of the whole Democratic Party has turned into these blue dog bullshitters. I'm just so sick of this fucking capitalist-friendly democracy. Fuck it.
Yeah. So there was a video. You know, obviously everybody in the fucking United States has heard that Bernie Sanders has endorsed Hillary Clinton, and
well,
if
he had to. I mean, he had to. There's no. I don't even know why people find this at all surprising. What do you think he was going to do? Endorse Trump? You think he was going to fucking say, "I don't like Mussolini, vote for Hitler"? You think he was going to do that?
No. But you can tell. You can fucking tell when the camera zooms in on his face and Hillary Clinton's like, yeah, Bernie Sanders embraced me. And his face is just like, he can barely put up a smile. He tries, but you can tell it's so fake.
Well, I don't even think that's true. Like I said, I think compared to Trump, Hillary is fucking a goddess. She's beautiful.
She's a fucking cunt.
Well, I'm just saying, compared to Trump isn't even he's not even a human cunt. He's a fucking goddamn weasel cunt.
He says some dumb shit.
He doesn't just say some dumb shit. He is dumb shit. He's a non-accomplished fucking jackass who thinks he's somebody, who thinks he actually did something in the world, and he hasn't done a motherfucking thing but act like a selfish jackass. Colin thinks he's all superior. He's never fought a fair fight in his fucking life. He's a goddamn little inheritance weasel walking around like he's a man. He's a ballless fuck.
Yeah, his fucking I know he talks a lot about how he like helped New York build an ice rink, but I haven't heard much about it.
Oh, I mean, fuck, that was 25 fucking years ago, and he did it out of his pocket just to impress everybody, right? I'll show how bad government is by making a deal with people who owe me something, right? So they'll do the work for free. So most of the contractors worked for free because they knew they were doing Donald Trump a favor and Donald was going to pay them back. So does that mean that Donald really did it under budget when you know the contractors were sucking up to Donald Trump? No. I mean, again, it was a fake fight, a whole pretensive thing just for Donald Trump to look good in the media. He didn't do anything real. You cheated.
I would much prefer to vote for somebody like Gary Johnson, a libertarian.
Yeah, well, he's an asshole.
I would like, yes, because
Bigger asshole.
in border walls. But here, I want to say this. I think this is the one thing that I will credit Donald Trump for, okay? Because Donald Trump has split up the Republican Party, okay?
Well, the Democratic Party is just as split.
The Democratic Party, but I just want to make my point whole, okay? So the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, they have owned our fucking country for the past century. And Donald Trump has split up the Republican Party. I think that if Donald Trump gets elected, our country will kind of go into shit. But I think the next election, it will allow third parties a better place.
There's no third parties that are any better than the two crappy parties. We need no parties. We need people that have an actual goddamn plan that can actually work. We don't need assholes with no plan. Libertarians have no fucking plan. Their plan is, I got mine, fuck you till you're dead. That's their fucking plan, and it sucks.
Yeah, I think a lot of the libertarians overall.
All the libertarians suck. They're all a bunch of inheritance whores also. They're fucking embraced this whole idea that I won because my mommy was pretty enough to get a rich sugar daddy and I fell out of a rich vagina. They think that's winning. They think that's being a fucking hero. They're fucking scum.
Yeah, dude, the fucking Alex Jones claims he's a libertarian. He's a fucking corporate whore.
Well, who the care what the fuck Alex Jones is, because yeah, he's an idiot.
He's a fucking corporate
He's a
whore.
fucking asshole selling ignorant cunts fucking bottled water making devices. That's all he is. He's just selling water filters to idiots.
I'm glad to hear you say that, dude. I want to give you a high five right now. Yeah, I don't like Alex Jones. I like listening to him. He's a fucking he's a clown, that's for sure. Makes me laugh.
Yeah, well, that's not my reaction.
I don't know, man. Is there any fucking any party that you think you get behind?
I just said it, didn't I? I don't give a fuck about no fucking party bullshit, okay? This is a conversation about ideology. What do you stand for, okay? It's not about special interest. It's about national interest, and can you actually describe how you're going to make the world a better place in the fucking future? And that's the only thing I think is relevant. I know rich people suck, and we don't need any more of that crap. So that's got to be the first policy initiative. It's got to somehow be, hey, let's make people earn it, and maybe let's get away with this. Let's get rid of this whole idea of gambling being an answer. Let's get rid of this idea that sports is really cool because sports is really stupid, and maybe we should be paying people for curing cancer instead of paying people to throw fucking balls and fucking hoops.
Do you think Bernie was going in the right direction?
No, he was an idiot. Bernie had Plan Zero. Let's give people more free education. You know, free like that high school stuff where, you know, we steal the money from people who don't have kids and pay for their kids with the money. We tax them out of their house. We make them pay preposterously huge property taxes to provide free education. Yeah, fuck Bernie in the ass.
Yeah, Bernie's
They don't
he's
want to
kind
pay
of,
for anything, okay? I mean, Bernie Sanders has the same stupid notion. I'm going to make $2 trillion by stealing the money from Google. And somehow that money won't come out of the stock market. Well, yeah, it will, Bernie, you douchebag, dopey motherfucker. You steal $2 trillion from corporations, yeah, the stock market's going to go down a little bit. Like 50%.
Oh, Bernie! I think Bernie was getting money from corporations too. I'm not
That's
sure.
what I just said. That's what I just said. You asked me about Bernie Sanders. I said Bernie Sanders' plan was, I'm going to repatriate $2 trillion of money that somehow has been snuck out of the country by companies investing in the rest of the world. Yeah, well, that's what they do. They're all international companies now, you dumbass. You're stealing their money, you jackass. It ain't free money. I'm going to go steal $2 trillion from corporations, and somehow that's not going to affect anybody. Fuck you, you idiot.
A lot of people conspiracized Bernie's campaign was fucking just to kind of like boost Hillary's, and it was all planned. What do you think? Do you think?
Well, I don't bother with any of this kind of crap. I think it's obviously wasn't, because he wasn't that harsh on Hillary. So I really don't see how that could be possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I just read up on it.
Well, I'm just saying, and I'm just saying the rest of his plan is a non-plan. He didn't really get to the core issue. The core issue is the rich are too fucking rich, and you got to fix it. And he didn't have any plan to fix it.
Yep.
Well, what's Hillary's plan?
Well, that's what I'm just saying. Hillary doesn't have plan A either, but at least Hillary's plan isn't, let's make it worse.
Hillary, okay.
Trump's plan is literally, he's taking shit right out of Ronald Reagan's old playbook. Tax cuts will increase revenues. Yeah, no, it won't, you asshole.
Okay, so Hillary is old. Her health is declining. She is power hungry. She loves being in the spotlight. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. She doesn't think like that. She just thinks what is going to make her popular, what is going to make her powerful. She likes power. And this is a fucking thing. Bill Clinton was a fucking president, okay? Hillary Clinton being a president, if that is not an oligarchy, by definition, if you do not think
there's a bogus argument anyway, but I mean that's already answered by the Bush legacy. So who the hell cares? The Kennedy legacy. So yeah,
yes.
Everybody gets a leg up because of their name recognition and because of a heritage or a tradition. So that's just a fact of life. The fact that there isn't anybody better running is the problem. It's not about these candidates. It's about this country being a ratty shithole because there isn't anybody. There's nobody in this country with a clean enough record or a good enough a mouth to sit there and run against this shit. So that should be our humiliation, is the 400 million other people in this country are obviously douchebags because they can't fucking, none of them can muster enough character to beat one of these fuckers.
Damn right. If you even ask the fucking average American what an oligarchy is, they look at you with a fucking blank face. You're like, what the
No, I don't even think, like I said, I don't think it's a relevant term. I mean,
you got a phone, you dumbass.
I'm more worried about monarchies than oligarchies, but it all comes down to the same thing in the end.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't the economic game end in monarchy?
Well, it ends in who holds the power, and the monarchy can be like say the British Empire. It was spread out just the same way it is here, right? The nobles are the one that held the power, right? So you're saying that the king was the problem, but the king was really just a representation of the rights of the nobles to own the entire country. So the irony is that our current distribution of ownership is worse than Britain during the height of the monarchy. So, I mean, we have less distributed wealth than under the worst of monarchy. So we just created the same noble class that runs the show. They finance the rhetoric, they finance the corporations, they finance the show. They're running the show. And who's the king? Who the fucking figurehead president is kind of irrelevant. It's the party politics that they shove down our throats that is the problem. Because they're financing the non-choice. The corporations own both parties, and the special interests own both parties.
Yeah, and
both parties are afraid of the cops. Both parties are afraid of public employees. Both parties are afraid of any voting bloc with more than 5 million people in it because they know they can't offend them because they're going to need those votes to win elections.
Hillary Clinton says she wants to get rid of Citizens United. You know, the fucking thing that allows corporations to finance.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Money's going to always finance. So this whole idea that you can control the flow of money into free speech is pointless. So I don't think that matters. Okay. The point is that people fall for it, and that's what's got to be fixed. I mean, you can't do anything about the fact that yes, rich people have more free speech. That's just a fact. They can buy the speech. And you're not going to stop it. You can make all the rules in the world, and they'll go around every single one of them. You're not going to stop their ability to create foundations. You're not going to stop their ability to create think tanks. They're going to control the agenda. Right now, Rupert Murdoch owns fucking Fox News. I mean, any asshole can own anything, and he can turn it into anything he wants to just by hiring assholes.
Who's Rupert Murdoch?
The guy who owns Fox.
Fucking billionaire or some shit?
Yeah, he's a billionaire from England, no less. So, you know.
From England, yeah, figures.
I'm just saying that that's how they're going to run the show, whether you like it or not. You're not going to stop their right to own, and once they can own media, they own the show.
What's your thoughts on George Soros?
He's just another scuzzy rich person, in my opinion. He made all his money, you know, in rackets to defraud a bunch of Asian countries out of their bonds.
How did he do that?
You invest in a country, right? You go over and you make contracts, and then you know that they're going to be breakable in 6 years or something, and so you basically have a catch in the loan where you get paid back twice if they default or some kind of bullshit like that. Yeah, but it was that kind of thing. Their investment wasn't, you know, they played them, and they got them into a debt circumstance, and then they charged them the 33% interest rate. You know what I mean? They got them into a credit card racket.
So everything's basically been based around money.
No, not everything. It's based around wrong assumptions. Most of the world runs on stupid religious nonsense. Not about money. It's just about stupid ideology. You know, jackass people thinking they know something, and jackass people thinking they're smart enough to have kids. I can control the experiment. Man, bullshit.
I read this article once that this is going to sound super racist and super.
Yeah, well, I know. Don't bother then. Really, I have no interest. You already sound like you're going to go there anyway. But
I'm not trying to go. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. I don't really want to play the Jew game or any other kind of race game.
Hey, I'm gonna sound really retarded, but why? Wait, can you hear me?
Not entirely.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna sound really retarded, but like, can someone explain why we're bombing Syria?
Well, this is a civil war, okay, and we don't like the people in charge, so we're financing the rebels because they're supposed to be better people. And that's what it comes down to. They're the side we've chosen because we've decided, just like we decided to take out Gaddafi in Libya, and just like we took out Mubarak in Egypt, we've decided that the existing governments are not to our liking, so we're going to put a new one in if we can. It's just, you know, we've just Saddam Hussein, you know, Syria. So Syria is just another illegitimate government that we have to fix.
It's like the same empire building process over and over again.
Well, it's not even an empire, right? We're not. It's not like we're colonizing these countries and making them civilized. So, like, if we're doing the Roman thing, I'd be voting for it. Okay, if we took over and installed a constitution and told all the religious nuts they have to do their burqa thing in their own living room, I'd be all for that. But we have this notion that somehow if we give these people democracy, they'll vote for a reasonable policy, and that's obviously not going to happen. They're nuts. They're ignorant fuckheads, and they'll vote for ignorant fuckheads to run their countries. But really just probably has to do with some gas pipeline or some other bullshit that's, it's always the backstory is always some kind of thing where, we don't want the Russians to have the gas pipeline or some other kind of shit.
Yeah, war over.
The Libya thing was, I think Gaddafi was obviously going to take his gold and he was going to take his money out of the markets, right? He was going to take his money out of the stock market. He was going to buy more gold. He already had a ton of gold, but he was going to buy more gold, and he was going to make a gold currency and establish an African currency. And, yeah, we didn't want any part of that.
So it's like as soon as one of these leaders try to gain their own power for their people, then we step in if it's an interference to our corporation's ability to
Well,
acquire.
exactly. I mean, it's all for a special interest somewhere. So yeah, whether it's the oil companies or whether it's people interested in stopping the competition. You know what I mean? Not letting somebody else do it. So as soon as somebody succeeds in making deals, we have to do something to fuck their deal.
Hey, Amanda, what is your thoughts on NATO surrounding Russia?
Well, again, it's just a deal thing, right? Everybody's just selling out. I mean, there's no real controversy over all these disputes. This whole thing in what you call it, the silly country that's. I mean, the funny part is Chernobyl. It was in. What's the name of that stupid? The thing connected to Crimea. All the controversy was over. What?
I think it's in Ukraine.
Yeah, Ukraine. Right. So half of Ukraine is Chernobyl, for fuck's sake, which is kind of funny. I mean, that's how Russian the Ukraine was. Is that it was nobody thought of it being in the Ukraine, right? They thought of Chernobyl being in Russia.
Yeah.
So that's part of the whole fraud here. So I mean, but this is just politics, right? I mean, everything's in chaos, everything's fucked up, and everybody's just selling out. So it's like as soon as you start destroying, like say the United States of America, then all the states start thinking about, well, if I gang up, if New Jersey gangs up with Connecticut and Vermont, we can create a coalition and fight Texas, and it all vulcanizes. And that's all it's had, right? The trick was the Polish were going to have our stupid missile defense crap in them, right? So Poland was going to do it, and then Poland started making deals with Russia, and so then they didn't want to have anything to do with it because they found out it's going to be politically unviable for them to have our missiles in Poland because now Russia's going to fuck with them. So they said, "Fuck you."
With the United Nations?
Well, no, it has nothing to do with that at all. This is just crap over this silly frickin' border war. Like we're still pretending there's a huge threat from the Soviet Union going to take over Europe or something. We know that's not going to happen. So this is all just bullshit. But I mean, this whole thing is all over money. Everybody wants to sell out, right? The Poles wanted our missiles because we're going to pay them a ton of money. But they figured out that in the long term they're going to lose money because America is not going to feed us. They'll give us the one-time big money, but then we get nothing in the future. And they know that in the long term they have to live with the country right next door, Russia. They don't have to live with us. So they know the more important future is going to be their relationship with Russia, not their relationship with the United States. And there's no point in turning themselves into goddamn Russia's version of Cuba.
So basically, all these countries are just looking at politics as
they're looking at
money.
self-interest. Okay, that's all they're looking at, and they're all looking at the short-term interest, and that's the real dangers. When everybody starts looking at, what's in it for me right now, that's when things get messy.
I think most of these countries, are looking at these political situations as what is the financial gain that I can impose upon this. Even if it's militarily, and that brings light upon oil. We fund these wars because we want to get the oil, because that means money into our economy. Do you think?
Well, that's the funny thing about another funny thing about the Ukraine is the Ukraine was made by Stalin. I mean, the Ukraine wouldn't have shit if it wasn't for Russia, in the sense that Russia,
Hello.
under the worst of Russia, is when the Ukraine was developed. What?
He was just saying hi. Hi. Hello.
Fuck you.
Hi. Where
I was talking.
You were saying that Ukraine was developed by Russia. Go on.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying. So that's part of the whole.
Just kick him.
The whole game is that. What's the point of this whole argument about because the whole heritage of the Ukraine is tied to the Soviet Union. So I'm just saying, if you want to say you want to be an independent country, you got to do it for a better reason than because America is going to give you a paycheck. That's kind of a lousy reason.
Hey, Inmendham. I don't know a lot about the fight between Russia and Ukraine. I've read a little bit, and it seems like Russia is being the aggressor. I would like to hear your thoughts.
There's no aggression in the sense that the Russians gave them their independence. Russia basically said, well, look, if you want to be an independent country, go ahead. You really don't have any resources. You don't have any infrastructure. So if you want to be a balkanized country just to say you're independent of Russia, well, go ahead, but you're not going to win. And so they made a contract with them, and basically the contract said, look, step by step, we're going to give you more and more of this independence thing, and eventually in 40 years you'll have your complete independence. It's like China's deal with Hong Kong and shit.
Russia actually made a contract with Ukraine?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
So that's how they got their independence in the first place. Is Russia gave it to them.
Okay.
So, and then the point is, though, is that Ukraine became entirely unstable, and then they started acting like, we're going to make a deal with the United States. And then that's when the Russians said, well, look, I mean, we made a contract that you were going to be a country, that you weren't going to be a fucking sycophant to the United States. You didn't say you were going to become an American satellite. Well, we're not going to let you be an American satellite. Fuck that shit.
So that makes sense why the American media is making a big deal about this, you know what I mean? Making it seem like Russia is like this evil fucking empire that's attacking this little tiny country.
Right, no, it's just about American missiles. Just like we wouldn't let Cuba have Russian missiles, why the fuck, right, should fucking Russia allow the Ukraine to have American missiles? I mean, it's almost ironically hilarious, the parallels between Cuba, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and the Ukraine. I mean, the similarities are so fucking similar. I mean, we support the overthrow of Batista because he's a horrible motherfucker. We don't like Castro, but we deal with that. Okay, but what do? Well, as soon as he starts affiliating himself with Russia, well, then we decide, oh, we got to go massacre those fuckers. We got to go assassinate Castro.
Inmendham, who's Batista?
Batista was the guy, was the disgusting capitalist whore, money whore thief who was king of Cuba before Castro.
Okay, I'm just asking because
Castro, look, Cuba was like a little whorehouse, okay? Cuba was run by all this Batista money. So all the people that were the family and the affiliates to Batista, the Batistaites they're called, the rich, right? They ran everything in Cuba. So a tiny percentage of the Cubans, like 2% of them, got all of the money from the tourism, and the rest of the Cubans ate shit. And that's why there was a revolution, and Castro was the leader of the revolution, is because they were being run by a bunch of capitalist fucks, and that's why they became communist, is because obviously they thought capitalism was a total failure.
Oh, capitalism. And he was in correlation with Russia at the time?
Well, I'm just saying, yeah, well, Russia didn't actually finance or help the Cuban Revolution at all, but he became, yes, Castro, once Castro gained control, once they kicked Batista out, Castro became the default leader of Cuba, and yes, Castro basically announced that, yeah, we have nothing against Russia's good people, they're going to help us out, they're going to give us some infrastructure, we're going to build Cuba into a real good nation. And we, of course, found that terribly offensive, and that's when we had to go do the whole Bay of Pigs, attempt to overthrow Castro.
Okay. Was that right before the Cold War? Or
No, the Cold War was right after World War II, actually. The Cold War started as soon as the Hot War stopped. So as soon as the World War II stopped, Russia became the new Hitler. And but we'd already started the Cold War with Russia even before World War II was over. We were already, like a couple times, like Patton, right, famous U.S. general. He did a lot. He said a lot of shit, and it really was, he wanted to attack Russia back at the end of World War II. As soon as they killed the Nazis, he was like, well, now let's go kill the Russians.
And they call it the Cold War because there was actually no physical contact. Am I right? I'm just
always physical contact, but it was always indirect. Like you go to places like Angola, and it would be Cubans financed by Russia fighting, whatever, Zulus financed by the Americans. So yeah, it was still a hot war in some places, but yeah, it was generally speaking a Cold War in the sense that yes, we didn't have any battle line to fight on directly, but there was certainly a lot of, obviously both sides were financing advantage.
Okay, so there was conflict, but there was nothing crazy. Okay, I really appreciate you clarifying that, man. I enjoy learning about this stuff, and I think you're very knowledgeable on this stuff. So I'm sorry if I come off as annoying if I ask a lot of questions, but I think you know a lot. So
well, I'm not an expert on some of this stuff, but I have the advantage of actually being an old fart. So I actually grew up when some of this shit was happening. So some of it I have pretty good knowledge of. So, I remember it when it was really happening and what the stories actually said, as opposed to the revisionist history you get from some people.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cold War was all a big bunch of hype. I mean, it's like they didn't, it's like Khrushchev was the leader back then. This is like, the Kennedy era and after. And, there's a famous quote where he's talking about with capitalism, and he says, we're going to bury you. And the complete sentence is, we're going to bury you on the ash heap of history, which is a big difference, right? So all we hear is he's threatening us, he's going to bury us, and his real argument is that when it all plays out, it's going to be found that it's better to be a socialist than a fucking capitalist. And so he was just making a Marxist argument that Marxism is going to bury capitalism. But that's what I mean by the whole thing being, made out of bullshit. The conflict wasn't one, it was one where everybody was just propagandizing, and there was nothing real to these arguments. So
it's really interesting how they misconstrue, like whatever.
Yeah, quote mining. I mean, it's been going on forever, but yeah, quote mining, quote manipulation, taking quotes out of context. It's it's a real propagandist weapon. Make them into a bogeyman, Because Khrushchev really wasn't. He was like a guy you could talk to. He was almost like a Castro in the sense that he was a little bit of he wasn't a dumb fucker. I mean, Castro's a smart motherfucker. This guy could talk for, he could make a 2-hour speech, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, man.
He had a lot to say, and
Hitler made a lot of good points too, man. Hitler was a smart guy. I don't know a lot about the genocide that went on and
yeah,
everything.
well, I don't think he was at all smart. So I don't know where you get that from. I mean, Mein Kampf is not a brilliant.
Smart in the sense he was a good speaker. I mean that.
Yeah, well, I know, but that a good speaker means you're just doing the propaganda thing. I mean, obviously he lived on propaganda. He didn't live on
Yeah.
a clever or smart argument. He lived on a loud, boisterous, petty, vengeful.
Exactly.
He lived off inciting hate in people, not any kind of understanding. So he wasn't at all clever. Well, I'm just saying. Well, there's no comparison to Castro. Castro didn't make speeches just sitting there inciting hate. He made speeches explaining why social dynamics that require people to sacrifice in the short run for the long run, and that kind of stuff. He made intelligent arguments.
Yes. I'm sorry. I don't mean to boast Hitler or anything. I think he was a good speaker. And I think
you speak German?
I don't. I speak Finnish, but I don't speak German.
No, I'm just saying. You're saying he's a good speaker. He's this or that. Why couldn't he just be an asshole? Why couldn't he just be like a Donald Trump or something? Why are we? Where do you get this idea that he's a good speaker? He doesn't look very good, in my opinion. He comes off as a fucking lunatic.
Oh, this is the only reason why I say Hitler comes off as a good speaker. I speak Finnish, and they roll their R's very well, and they the Finnish language and the German language are very similar. And I read articles about him, and he concentrated on how to, very, very emotional speaking. I guess that's the ways. He was a good speaker. He knew how to manipulate people. That's the only thing.
I just don't know how this has anything to do with the argument I was making, so I don't know why Hitler had to come up, but whatever. I think Hitler is a simpleton and an idiot. I mean, the whole simplicity of this argument, somehow the Jews done it, is just so stupid.
Well,
anybody who would have had the money would have done it. The Jews don't plan it. It's like anybody who has the money. Well, so yeah, the Jews are industrious by principle. They have a religion that basically says you're supposed to be an industrious person, and they take education seriously and all that shit. So they put in the effort. They do the stuff. They end up being the bankers. Well, it doesn't matter what race the bankers are. Yes, the bankers were the fucking problem. It doesn't matter whether they're Jewish or whether they're fucking Aryan. Wouldn't matter. The very principle of banking is the problem.
Yeah, Hitler was a very spiteful and he was a very jealous person. So to
make all these stupid racial arguments was moronic. I mean, the whole thing with the Negroids and the rest of it was just so fucking silly.
It is. It really is, because I know plenty of intelligent people that are from every race, because I'm in the military, and races are fucking prevalent. And it's a joke to say that one race is smarter than the other. It really is.
It doesn't matter if they are smarter than the other. The point is that to have the common sense to know not to fart in somebody's face does not require a 240 IQ. So what it requires from a person to be a civilized, decent person doesn't require much intelligence. So it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter if there's a difference in our intelligences racially. The fact is, it doesn't take much intelligence to be a decent fucker.
That's a good point, because IQ only measures the amount of information you can hold in your mind. It does not measure the amount of information you can process, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, it just doesn't matter what your foundational logic is. Like I said, you can have a fucking 150 IQ, but if you believe in God, you're a moron. It all goes down the toilet because your premises are wrong. Once you fuck your axioms, you can't do logic anymore. So it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have, you're broken as a logic engine.
Mm. Got really quiet.
Yeah, well, it doesn't inspire, like I said, conversations about race and intelligence. Just doesn't stimulate me in any way.
Yeah, anytime you bring up Hitler, I'm sorry I brought up Hitler.
Yeah, well, he doesn't do much for me either. But I mean, beyond the idea of propaganda is an important subject. The idea that what idiots fall for is an important subject. The fact that idiots think idiots think they're qualified to vote, and they're idiots. So you're just like, yeah, that's idiocracy for sure. I mean, people don't understand anything they're voting on. They don't really understand how the world works, and yet they're deciding who's going to run it. And that's a real problem.
People vote very subjectively these days.
Yeah, it's entirely voting by personal interest, and that's just so defeating.
And I can imagine being alive in Germany in 1945, people were just voting 100% subjectively. You know what I mean? They weren't thinking rationally. They weren't fucking thinking critically.
Well, they didn't have any choices either, though. That's another problem. When you run out of choices, you end up with picking bad choice. Any decision's a bad decision. But that's sort of the joke, is that things were getting so much better that they should have just let it go. They should have, but they weren't given that option. It's kind of like in the war with Iraq. We weren't given the option of let's not do it. Both parties decided that, oh, this is America, and we have to go defend America, and so we have to go kill, a few 100,000 people and pay a couple of $1 trillion to do it.
Yeah, and as much as I dislike technology, and I embrace more of a natural kind of lifestyle. Back in 1941, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, during the fucking crazy ass Nazi regime era, they didn't have internet. They didn't have any other, way to access information. And we do. If you as a person cannot do your own research, you're a fucking idiot. If you watch Fox News and CNN and you're like, okay, yeah, I believe that, instead of going on Google easily or YouTube and getting another perspective, you're a fucking moron.
Well, I'm just saying it's still not going to do you any good if you're taking stuff based on what somebody else says. You have to sit there and understand the dynamics. So you have to do a little more research than that, because you have to kind of understand how history does repeat itself, and how you have to understand the nature of human beings, which is they suck, and you have to have rules against the suck ruining the game. So you have to have anti-suck rules.
People take everything for face value nowadays, and it's so sad.
Well, like I said, I think they always did. So that's a human frailty that we don't seem to want to fix, because it requires calling assholes assholes, calling ignorant fuckers ignorant fuckers. And nobody wants to do that, because they're all ballless bastards. The intellectuals have to, at some point, decide that they're going to drive the bus, and they can't keep letting the assholes drive the bus.
But it pisses me off because they have the internet. You don't have to fucking pay for the internet. You don't have to pay for Google. If you want to find out something, all you have to do.
You're paying for Google. Trust me, you're paying out the nose for fucking Google. Google's a marketing company, okay? Google is a marketing company.
Go to your local fucking library for free. Type in, whatever news you want.
Google, yes, you're going to type it into Google. Again, I don't want to talk about Google, but it's not a great resource.
I'm just saying information is free nowadays, and people take it for granted. That's all I'm saying.
Well, whatever. What I'm saying is the only information that's valuable, though, is a tiny percentage of the information. So most of the information is still noise, and you have to be able to tell the difference between noise and information. There's lots of people who Google, end up at Alex Jones and say, gee, that guy sounds like he's making a lot of sense. He really sounds that guy. So I'm just saying, if that's what they're finding online, I don't think they've edified themselves. I don't think they've become smarter. They've become dumber.
That's actually a really fucking good point, man. Because when I started researching all this kind of stuff, guess where I ended up?
Well, I'm just saying,
Alex Jones.
the problem is that the propagandists are the loudest. You know what I'm saying? The ones that have the biggest incentive to fight something are the ones that fight the most aggressively.
He's a corporate fucking whore. Fuck him. Fuck Alex Jones.
Oh, man.
He spits on his face again.
Fuck
Even,
everybody.
even though I fucking hate Cenk Uygur. Hate that guy. Hate them both.
Yeah, well, don't know them both.
I think he's talking about the Young Turks.
Young Turks are fucking. Young Turks are the fucking. They equal Alex Jones, but the opposite side. They're like. They're both the same, but they.
Well, I don't know how you can really make that argument. I mean, you might not like their politics, but I mean, frankly, Alex Jones overtly lies. I mean, just grotesquely preposterous exaggerations as facts. Like the government has a casket already made. They're planning a camps where they're going to put you all, lock you all in camps and blah blah blah, and the military is going to come and take you all. I'm like, oh yeah, right. The military, made up of citizens of the country who all have parents and all have brothers and sisters, are going to come down American streets and arrest their brother and sister and throw them in the death camp and throw them in the coffins. Yeah, sure they are.
The only fucking thing Alex Jones cares about is
Well, I don't want to talk about Alex Jones. I don't really want to talk about the other guy either. But the point is you're the one who made this comparison that they're comparable, and I don't think they're at all comparable because I think one side fights fair and one side doesn't.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll have to look more into that. I don't watch a lot of TYT, but I'll check it out. I think Alex Jones, the only thing he cares about is selling fucking his bullshit vitamins, his bullshit fucking water filtration. It's all bullshit. The only thing he cares about is money. He's a corporate shill.
Well, he's not a corporate shill. He's a self-interested fucking rich fuck. Yeah, so it's just about the money. He doesn't care about any of this shit. He lives on his ranch. He doesn't worry about any of this crap. He's just taking advantage of a bunch of silly people who will wet their pants at the very sight of an American flag, that doesn't have for which the purpose is not to celebrate. Or however to put it, American government, let me put it that way. He doesn't associate the government with being, I don't know, I don't even know how these people make any sense out of it. The military is run by the very government they say is evil, and yet they trust the military.
He doesn't make sense. He knows he's not making sense. The only fucking thing he cares about is selling his product.
Well, I'm just saying that's all. But, right, so we're kind of done with the subject. He's just a guy who's out for himself, and he's found his shtick. So he's like any other guru or any other fast-talking religious kook who just gets a bunch of ignorant people to say, yes, we gotta go march and save the world for Jesus.
Fuck that guy.
So anyway, getting a bit late, and I really probably should go. And I talked a lot and all that shit. So thanks, Mike and Dee. Appreciate the opportunity to completely dominate the room and force you to just sit on the couch and shut up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been real.
Well, whatever. Yeah, I just have to next time. I'll just wait until you're just doing that babbling thing next to you. You're just sitting there talking. Well, do we have more to say? I don't know. Do you have anything else to say? I don't know. Do you have anything? I don't know anything. then I'll show up, but I'll only do it when you're totally lost in a sea of indecision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
judgment. I heard that the judgment faculty is one of the last to reach maturity. Something
Yeah.
like that.
No, I don't know what that exactly means, but sure, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Appreciate
think
the insight, Inmendham.
What? Who?
So, I appreciate the insight, Inmendham.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks. It was adequate conversation and all the stuff.
All right, man.
It performed its task, whatever that was exactly. I don't know, but it did it. Moved along. That's what it did. It moved along. It moved from there and went all the way to there, and so it did that. So, bravo.
got from A to G.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
This is my first live chat, so I'm going live and talking to people. So I think
the first try it was pretty good. So
I don't know if I came across as closed-minded or an asshole. I hope not.
no, you were careful enough, but I mean there is an undercurrent. Okay, there's a little subtle thing floating under there where you're just ready to say the word nigger. It's just a little bit. You're running in there. You're just like, yeah, I really need to say nigger. But other than that, yeah, it was agreeable. Excuse me?
Sorry, I muted that one guy because he kept talking.
Yes, good.
So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Excellent, fine, and whatever. I don't know who you muted, but it doesn't matter. As long as it's not me, it's okay, all right? Yeah, that's how I look at it. So anyway, well, it's good to see you out of jail, Mike. I mean, out of whatever it was. The place,
insane asylum.
therapy place. Did you get anything out of it, like a sponge bath or anything good? Anything at all?
No, they were all. A lot of them were religious, so
Oh,
they just
dear. Yeah, well, then you really know you're wasting your time. It's like, oh yeah, the blind leading the blind, right, or what? Yeah, okay. The silly leading the crazy. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let's have the silly lead the crazy. Yeah, that'll work.
I had to have an emotional word for the day. Each day.
Yeah, each day had to have an emotional word. Fuck. I mean, fluck. Fluck. Yeah, that's the word. Fluck. Tomorrow's word's going to be spit. Yeah. Well.
But they
let you
stabilize.
out. So that's it. Yeah, they let you out. So that's who cares? As long as you get the fuck out, that's good. You survived it.
Yeah, 6 cigarettes a day. It was pretty good. Community.
Yeah. Well, at least they gave you a cigarette, right? So that's good. Yeah. So force you to quit, that would be horrible.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been it went along pretty well. Politics, physics, some guy talking about the universe, and goofiness, autistic goofiness.
Yeah, it was helpful. So you have some kind of fear of the bathroom? I don't know. I hear about that one someday.
Oh, what? I don't know.
Yeah, no, you.
Do I?
Yeah, something. Yeah, Dee's muted again, so there's no point. She just doesn't know how to do the internet.
She's frozen.
Yeah, no, she mutes herself. I think she says something. It's like she's a walkie-talkie or something. She's like from 1950. Okay, 10-4, good buddies. Okay, over and out.
10-4. Over.
Over and out. Yeah. Talk you on the rebound or whatever that is, on the cul-de-sac. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to learn all that old jargon again just to play along.
Yeah. Hide and seek.
Yes. Well, you are entertainingly silly people. But anyway, okay, enough of this crap.
All right.
We'll do some other crap and see if I can find some other crap in the crap of the crap and find some kind of crap that isn't quite as crappy.
Yeah.
No crap. But my mouse isn't. Oh, it's the wrong mouse. I have to use this one. All right. So till the next time, happy trails and such, and whatnot, and so forth.
Okay.
Okay. See ya.